We'll call to order the regular meeting of the Eastpointe City Council on Tuesday, June 18th at 7 o'clock p.m. Please rise for the invocation given by Councilwoman Sarah Lucido. Remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear God, we thank you for all the blessings you have given us. Help us to recognize the fact that we all inhabit this world together and that at our core we all want the same things: to live a happy life in peace with those around us. Help us to accept others without prejudice and work together with our neighbors to build a better Eastpointe and a better world. It is in your name we pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council, if you'd like to join me, we have a certificate of appreciation tonight. You can come over here. You're not going to get away without saying a few words. And we have a member of the Beautification, Peggy Sweeney, who's been on Beautification for years and years and years. And we'd like to acknowledge in public and on TV the certificate of appreciation. So it reads, for your tremendous dedication and many outstanding years of service on the Eastpointe Beautification Commission, especially for the creation of a memory book, which took forever, and included a long period of time. On the Beautification Commission, the creation of the program for the annual Landscape Awards ceremony and the Memorial Trees ceremony, creation of letters to fellow citizens, and always pitching in to clean up flower beds, pick up litter, or other activities involving the commission or other cities groups. You'll be dearly missed by all. And I want to tell the people, I mean, this is the bare minimum of a description of what all you've done. There was a time that you walked through every park in this city, up and down Gratiot, itemizing all the memorial trees. And that was a big effort. And as I recall, some of it was in snow, some of it was in rain, but it was you and Mary that persevered to get all that done. And that's just a little bit of all the things that you've done. So I'd like you to say a few words.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank
Into
you.
the microphone so it's
Okay.
recorded.
Okay. Well, oh, you don't want my address. I did make a few notes because I wanted to say a few things. Volunteers. That's what makes this city a great community. There isn't anything that has been done or is going to be done without the help of many hands, many loving hearts that work together to make this community great. There's one thing that we were brought up on was to lend a hand wherever and however you can. And I have had two great role models, one being my father, Pat Mann, and the other my husband, Bill Sweeney. And before I go, I'm going to make a ploy for this. Adopt a bed. The city of Eastpointe has many beds that are willing and waiting for you and anybody else in the community who would like to adopt them. Your name would go right here, advertising that you adopted them. And it's a great way to help spruce up the city. I love the city.
Wait, where's your dad? I saw him
He's
walk
right there.
in.
He's right there.
Mr. Mann, you want to stand? You deserve applause, too.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This is really, really wonderful, and I'm truly humbled.
And council
And
is
I'm gonna
waiting
get-
for you.
yeah.
I gotta tell everyone one story though about Peggy. When we did the litter cleanup, driving somewhere, I don't know where you were, but you saw some trash coming out of a garbage truck. She called Waste Management, it wasn't her, so she calls Waste Management to get them volunteers out to her litter cleanup. People actually came out and helped us do the litter cleanup.
I wrote a letter.
Oh, you wrote a letter, okay.
I called, and I got to be run around, and then I wrote the letter. And surprise, the locale must have cleaned up. I said, don't spend too much time working on this, for your truck to be driving and throwing litter all over it. That's a good one. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so very much.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico.
Here.
Lucido.
Here.
Kleinfeld.
Here.
Owens.
Here.
Pixley.
Here. Item 2 is the approval of the agenda. Can we have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda, and I am going to suggest one change. I don't think we need a closed session for the communication from Rich.
Anyone support that motion?
And item X.
Oh, and add, yeah.
It's
The
item
smart
12.
item is item X.
Item
that-
12.
I'll make that part of the motion.
All right.
Support.
All right, with those changes, please call the roll.
Councilmember Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Lucido.
Yes.
Owens.
Yes.
Pixley.
Yes.
DeMonico.
Yes.
And with that, we'll move into the hearing of the public. I think there are a lot of people that want to be heard today. So just remember, it's 3 minutes. And who would like to go first?
Karen Morajan, Eastpointe resident. So, in regards to the petting zoos, Roseville didn't even bother to contact their animal control to let them know they were having a petting zoo and pony rides, and there's a lot of things to cover that went wrong. And this is someone who is supposed to do it under like an educational approach. Supposedly, it deals with rescued animals, rehab. There were animals that got loose. The pens were not properly secured. The water was not being monitored. The ponies were definitely showing signs of agitation. The lemurs and the coatimundis were pacing back and forth. Those are signs where the animals are exhibiting stress. The porcupine was clinging to the fenced enclosure and was swaying back and forth. That's another sign of an animal exhibiting stress. And I watched a woman trying to feed a pony, and she had to jerk her arm back because the pony was so agitated. Now, I did speak with the exhibitor. I offered several suggestions in the corrections that he could make. He took those suggestions to heart. Animal control went out the next day to make sure that everything was in compliance. But there's no excuse for these petting zoos. You guys have known about all the neglect with the petting zoo animals since last August. You've done nothing to stop the petting zoos. And also with the one that occurred last fall, the ponies are supposed to have grass provided in order to ensure proper footing. And your dear old Lions Club did nothing of the sort. So, therefore, they violated the Animal Welfare Act in having those ponies on nothing more but an asphalt parking lot. And to have a petting zoo along major intersection of 9 and Gratiot is absolutely ridiculous. If any of those animals got loose, they would have been killed with all that traffic. And just so you know, I'm working with attorneys and legislators, and I just got contact from the west side of the state that somehow I have now become a point of contact in what to do about these petting zoos. So we're pushing for a ban on all traveling petting zoos. There's no excuse. You need to think about all the stress the animals are incurring. So if you don't like traffic jams and panic stops, neither do the animals.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to be heard? Pastor Rush.
Pastor Albert Rush, Eastpointe Emmanuel United Methodist Church, also resident of Eastpointe, and also standing with my fellow pastors here at Eastpointe. We're talking in regards to the resolution 1882, LGBTQ Pride Month. First and foremost, we do believe 100% that no one should be discriminated with, and everyone should be treated fairly, equally, and no harm should come to anyone in our city of Eastpointe. However, we feel that at this particular point in time now, we should table this resolution and maybe refer it to our Cultural Diversity Committee, because we do not have a resolution that we celebrate Black History Month. We do not acknowledge Breast Cancer Month. We do not acknowledge Domestic Violence Month. There's a lot of things that we do in our society that people are being harmed. And we want to make sure that if we're going to do one thing, that we've got a proper plan to celebrate everything equally, and also making sure that all of our residents, for whatever their diverse situations and backgrounds, feel represented if we want to move forward in this particular area. Thank you.
To the Mayor, City Council, my name is Kevin Lancaster, and I stand in agreement with what Pastor Rush has said. I just want to remind you that we are a family town, and we want everyone to feel secure. So to just bring out or segregate one group of people, I don't think this is the right time to do it. So I just want you to know that. Thank you very much.
I'm Pastor Matthew Broman of Eastside Community Church, and I too agree with him, and I was aghast. I said, well, surely they've done other people like African American History Month, and I was just shocked that they were like, no, I don't think they've done any of it. So I really do implore you guys, if you're going to go, I agree with him wholeheartedly.
I'm Dr. Jay Gregory. I'm the pastor of Faith Covenant Fellowship, and I stand with my fellow clergymen on this table in this resolution, and I'd like to thank you.
My name is Pastor James Friedman, and to the council, to the mayor, we embrace everyone, and we concur with what Pastor Rush just said. We would like to see everyone included. I have an autistic son and grandson, and I know once a year, there's Autism Month. So we just want to be able to include everyone, and the council already knows without me even having to say, we're at your beck and call at any time to discuss any matter with you. We pray for you guys constantly with the awesome responsibilities that you have. So thank you for this time and allowing us to speak.
Does anyone else wish to be heard? Let's go to Ms. Kleinfeld.
Thank you. I have a hard time not saying here when you guys say Councilman Kleinfeld. I was having a hard time with that. I just wanted to point something out with regard to this resolution. It refers to discrimination based on age, gender identity, gender expression, race, color, religion, marital status, national origin, sexual orientation, or physical attributes. So it doesn't just encompass one thing. I agree wholeheartedly we should do resolutions on these other issues as well. But there's got to be a first one. That doesn't mean there can't be others, and there should be others. I just want to point something out. What makes our nation unique is that we are able to all live together, and that didn't come easy. Anybody who knows our history knows that that didn't come easy, and anybody who knows that where we came from, whether it was sexual orientation or it was religion, people were burned at the stake, people have been lynched, dragged, there have been all sorts of horrible things that have happened to people. This says we accept everybody. So I support this. I just want to say two other things. Peggy, I love you, and I'm heartbroken that you're leaving. I hope that we stay in touch, and I hope you come over and we get together on a regular basis. And the last thing, very quickly, you all know that the 9/11 fee went down up at the county. What you may not know is there was a second vote. That second vote was to use several $100,000 of county funds to cover the cost, offset the cost of 911 services in the northern end of the county. You pay into the general fund. And I will not let it go down without a fight, because it's going to come back up in budget, that they want to use your tax dollars to keep the price of 911 up there low, while not doing anything to offset the cost here. I think it's outrageous. It's not the only service that is happening, but they are using Eastpointe tax dollars, or they're going to attempt to. I will let you all know when that's coming up, because I'd like to see a good showing up at the county. Thank you.
Ma'am, please state your name.
Yes.
Into the microphone.
Christine Tillman, and I'm very familiar with these meetings. I've been to city council meetings all over the country, and I've only been here for 2 years, but I find this to be a very nice area. I find I have young people in my area who will cut your grass. Just you wake up and the grass is cut, you know, and I think it's a very nice area, and I really like Mr. Rohib, his plans, you know, with the neighborhood watch. I think it's just, I feel so safe here in this area, and that's why I'm running for Congress. I want to try to bring more to this area, because I've been doing this for so many, many years. Now, on the issue of the LGBTQ, I'm going to tell you what, I just got through calling Gretchen today, that office, to tell them, in the Constitution, Amendment 14, you can't pick out anyone. You read the word citizen in the Constitution about 27 times. It doesn't mention color, race, creed, whatever you do. That's not in the Constitution. In fact, Amendment number 9 says, nothing is written in the Constitution of the United States to deny, disparage, or discourage any of certain rights of the people. You got the right to be what you want to be. You want to do something stupid, go ahead and do it. But you have to bear your own consequences. And I'm sure you know Amendment number 1, people have the choice of religion, and you have a chance to meet, you know, and greet and all of that. But you can't pick out one group of people. Now, I also said the same thing Saturday. They had a meeting Saturday. It was a parade for LBG, well, whatever it is. And I told Jennifer when she was there, you got to do the same thing for the other people. You know, you need to have a family straight day as well. Well, you know how long she's been gone. That still hasn't happened. So I'm just saying to honor everybody. And the thing that they have to understand, if it wasn't for the heterosexuals, they wouldn't even be here at all. So they the first ones need to honor the heterosexual, you know, because we're the ones who, we created all, you know, and I think that everybody should be honored for who they are, and I really don't think it's any of people's business what you are. You have that constitutional right to do that.
You have 30
so
seconds.
I'm ending up my speech now with saying I'm Christine Tillman. You can find me on YouTube. Just Google my show name. I am known as the gangster of the Constitution in Congress, and they really don't like to mix it up with me because I can quote you every constitutional law, and that's why I want to I need at least 2 years. I want to return money to the people of the United States. Everybody has.
Your time is up. Thank
you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Sir, he had his hand up before, so, and then we'll come back to you.
Yes, how do you do? I'm Steve Bonas, very long time resident of Eastpointe. There was an attention that came to me regarding introduction and first reading of ordinance 1173, rezoning of property located on 15301 East 8 Mile. Originally, it was a doctor office. It turned into a daycare center. The prior meeting that I came to, and for the safety, well-being of and beautification of Eastpointe, I would like to talk about the new proposed owner of this, who doesn't live in the city that she stated, but she has property here in Eastpointe. It's a health spa. The corner, as all you people know, have been saturated with health spas. Get your barber cut. The meeting didn't really go well because there aren't 13 spots. There's 10 spots. I live in a neighborhood. I know I've been to the other health spas with my brother-in-law that we were taking care of. The people that go in there, okay, are much to themselves. There was east on 8 Mile problems with another health spot. The rezoning of this, okay, can, if something fails in that rezoning process, it can be turned into a marijuana farm, a facility. They're in parity, and that is not safe. That's not safe for the people that live here and the community, okay? If you're talking about money, taxes, well, they are probably going to go up, okay? But we're talking about bringing new business into the city, okay? However, I totally reject this kind of business being brought into our city as far as being a safety factor, okay? And that, amongst other things, I would have to say, but
You have 30 seconds.
I'll keep it on the mild side, but I totally reject that coming in and the approval of this, okay?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Ma'am, please come forward and state your name.
Thank you for allowing me to come and speak. My name is Colleen Veneman. I am a new resident of Eastpointe. I've been here since October. I chose Eastpointe because I felt that it was a wonderful community that had old-fashioned values, which I see in all of the businesses around. That's so wonderful. And yet there's young people, everybody here. And I feel very comfortable in this community. I want to thank you, all of you, for all the work that you've done to make this community what it is now, because I get to come and enjoy it. I am a Christian, and I do love everyone. And I do believe that God ordains all sorts of things from the Word of God, which I believe you opened with prayer, so I know it's important that we keep our hearts and minds aligned with Him. And it's also a family city, and this is your motto. And because someone may have a private choice to do whatever they choose in America, which is true, which we guard with everything in us, that choice can have impacts on a community. And I taught for 20 years in California, and I watched the agenda come in with these non-heterosexual people. And I came here, and I was working for a while here in Michigan with a homeschoolers cooperative. And I heard from many parents that they had chosen to do homeschooling because in second grade here, those children are told that they need to make up their mind whether they are female or male or neither. And parents who have young children will agree that everyone has the freedom to choose what they do, But we need to understand that whatever's going on in our community may very well impact our own children, our grandchildren, and we want to keep our minds educated. So when we espouse a particular group, we're going to need to let everyone know, talk to your kids. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir?
Good evening. My name is Desmond Wright Glenn. I stand before you near the 50th anniversary of the Stonewall riot in New York City. Stonewall riot happened after a gay bar was raided by the police, where it was illegal to stand in proximity to someone you were in love with, were dating. You were jailed, you were maligned in the paper. They would perp walk you down the street. We live in a time now where that doesn't occur in most places, thank God. But what I've heard here has disturbed me, because what I've heard is disturbing echoes of the same lack of conviction that we heard during the civil rights movement. Hold your horses. You're moving too fast. It's not the time. We haven't had this yet, so we shouldn't do this now. So that's a problem for me, because what you're telling me is your lack of initiative is the reason we cannot recognize a community who is a vibrant part of this Eastpointe community. So I find it disheartening from very many of you. And to say that it's not time, well, I say this to you. The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. And what side of history would you like to be on?
Sir, are you from Eastpointe?
I am not. I'm a dear family friend of the Kleinfelds.
All right, I just wanted to know whether you're a resident.
No, but
All
I've
right.
considered moving here.
Good, thank you.
Come on in.
Ma'am.
I'll rent you my spare bedroom.
Oh, wow.
Ma'am, please state your name, and I'm just interested to know whether you're a resident or not. You don't
my
have
na-
to give your address.
Okay. My name is Joanna Bonner, and I am a resident of Eastpointe. I came here to speak to the city council, and we came last meeting to talk to the planning commission. And did you get an opportunity to hear the tape? So I have the same comments that I had before, and is it okay to share that again? Okay.
You're sharing it on TV and to the audience.
Okay. Okay. Well, first of all, I wanted, again, to thank you for the opportunity to listen to our concerns about the rezoning matter. On May 15th, 2019, we received a letter in the mail about a notice of a public hearing from the Planning Commission. And so I'm here with others in the community to share comments for a better understanding and to ask the City Council for a better understanding about the rezoning matter. While we do understand that a request has been made to change the rezoning of the current OS1 Office Service District to B1 General Business District, we have unanswered questions. And we need answers to satisfy our safety and our concerns. We wanted to know, which now we do know, who's made the request for the rezoning and what's going to happen to our property values. Will they decrease or increase? Will our taxes increase or decrease? If the area is rezoned, what will be the hours of operation Monday through Fridays and on weekends? Because it is a family community, and we do have people that are retired, that are working, that are active, and we want peace. This is the reason why we chose to live in Eastpointe. Can the hours of the business change without notice? What type of activities can be included in the business, which we now know if it's changed to the current request for the rezone, it could be any business, and the hours could be any. And will there be an increase in traffic and parking in our neighborhood? And with the limited parking of the additional 10 spaces plus any space for trash, will the workers and patrons come, and where will they park? Will they park in our communities and bring all types of other unwanted activity in our communities? We're concerned about that. What is the capacity of the building for business purposes? And will our lives be disrupted by additional noise and traffic? Will the business be required to adhere to the noise ordinance? And will the business hold special events?
30 seconds, ma'am.
Yes, okay. And so will they hold special events? Will they have regular trash removal? And our homes are the places where we work, and we have a day of rest. And so all we want to know is if the city council would join us in reviewing why this area is going to be rezoned that would bring other activity other than office business in our area. And thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else in the back?
Good evening, City of Eastpointe. My name is Brandi Ahmed. I am a former Eastpointe resident. I now live in Dearborn. I'm also a former Shamrock alumni of 2002 and a former Kleinfeld. So my family has a lot of history here in Eastpointe, as everyone knows. I really want to focus on applauding Eastpointe. I'm always, dabbling in what's going on and calling my mom for information and my brother and saying, hey, what's going on? Because it's a city that I grew up in. And I've watched this city struggle, and I've watched it, climb out of dark places, and seeing it thrive now. It's been a joy actually to watch it and watching it continue to evolve. So I really, first and foremost, really just want to applaud Eastpointe and the leadership here. Thank you for staying strong in Eastpointe and being a great example for our community. Your community and the surrounding communities around. So there's that. I am supporting the LGBTQ from afar just because I really think, and I want to echo what Commissioner Kleinfeld said, you have to start somewhere. And I understand that maybe this might not have been the first place to start, as there have been other things that have been a greater struggle, and I know that for people of color and different races. And I would be one to be here when those agendas maybe come up where we do have support, African American, the month, make it an official, thing here. And, same with, I heard somebody say autism. And I think, you start somewhere and you support each other and you stay whole as a community. And so I'll end with that. And I am in support of this, and I'm proud of my former hometown, and I will always be an Eastpointer at heart. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard?
Over here.
Wait, you can come next? I'll get you next.
Evening. My name is Joseph Asher. I was here at your last meeting and said basically come today for this. I'm about my street Holbrook. I guess today they came and did a little patchwork, but the street is just falling apart. And all around my neighborhood, the streets are all being repaved. And when they did Beaconsfield and Petersburg last year and the year before, they said that our street would be coming up. And they haven't done anything. And it is very dangerous driving down that street. I have to weave around just to, drive on something smooth. So I was wondering are they going to be working on Holbrook? I'm just asking that. And highly appreciate to find out if they are. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am, you changed positions.
Decided to stand in line. Hello, my name is April Yeager. I wanted you to know that my parents and I grew up in Detroit, and they actually drove me to Eastpointe, or East Detroit at that time, every day to go to school because they love this community. My first house was in Eastpointe. My third house was in Eastpointe. I currently own it, and I am going to be selling it. I live in Clinton Township, but I am a member of Emmanuel United Methodist Church. I have many friends here. I wanted to let you know that I am a Christian, I am a musician, I'm an artist, and I am also gay. And the first time I got married was in 2005 in Eastpointe in my backyard because nobody would let me get married. In 2015, when it became legal, I immediately went and got my marriage license so that it could be on the books as being legal. And I'm telling you how important that is because 4 months after I got married the first time, my wife had a stroke and was in the hospital, and I literally had to pay a lawyer to make sure that if she passed away, I would be protected because we both owned homes. So all I'm asking the Eastpointe community is the recognition of people who have been marginalized, and I just want to be accepted. I want to be accepted in this community as who I am, and all other residents who may be gay or straight or Christian or Arab or whatever, but I think this is a good starting point, and that we all come together and acknowledge everybody's differences. Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to be heard?
Hi, my name is Elissa Vaults, and I am an Eastpointe resident. I'm here to also speak in support of the resolution to declare June as Pride Month here in Eastpointe. I think this is an amazing opportunity for, for our elected officials to show a community that not only do you see them, but you support them and you celebrate them. And these are our neighbors, these are our friends, these are our family members, these are our parishioners at our churches. And to vote no is to say no to all of that, to people that live here and support Eastpointe with all their heart and choose to live here and spend their money here. I think it's important for our elected officials to make a stand today on the right side of things and be the first community in Macomb County to declare June as Pride Month. That is important. Eastpointe does not get to be the first in a lot of things, and it is rarely good. So this is an awesome opportunity to be the first in something amazing and something to be incredibly proud of for every member of this community. Thank you.
Mr. DeHunt.
John DeHunt, Eastpointe resident. This is my family's 80th year living in this city. We haven't gone anywhere. On one branch of my family, we had fire chiefs, we've had police officers. Sadly, I'm lacking in that area. I'm just a shoe man. But I have the pleasure of being on the Planning Commission. Some days it's pleasurable, some days not so much pleasurable. We have been tasked with something that I know this council, or the majority of this council, wants to cram through. There are a lot of respected individuals in this city, in our history, currently, and none of which is probably as respected as Mr. Leo Lalonde. He is like the E.F. Hutton of our city. Rarely does Leo speak. He sits there, he'll ask a question every so often, but this man was a former state rep. He ran the Licensing and Regulation Board. He's about as connected as you can get. He's the one of the people that got the Clintons here when she was running for office. So the man's juiced, he knows things. The man piped up and said, I want to slow this down. I want to table the conversation on medical marijuana for 6 months. Didn't say no. Not one of us on our commission said the word no, we don't want it whatsoever. We wanted to slow it down. I know there are some of you that want to pour some gas on it. All we want is to take our time with this. A few questions were asked. Well, why do you want to slow it down? Well, one response was, well, we've been talking about it for so long, let's just get it done. Not necessarily a good response. Then another response was, well, we want to be at the forefront of something. Well, we're not at the forefront of medical marijuana. Oscoda has medical marijuana. Tawas has medical marijuana. And they're about as far north as you can possibly get, just about. There are other communities that have this. So we're not at the forefront of it. Harrison Township is growing. I believe I was just told today that somebody bought Gibraltar as a growing facility. So here is my thought to all of you, and I hope that you really consider it. We have these different aspects that we've identified. Why can't we have the chief, both chiefs actually, contact various communities throughout the state and find out what they're doing? That's all I want. We never said no. And my greatest concern that this is a large money grab right now. How much commercial real estate in the city has been optioned or bought that nothing can be done with right now because people are tying it up in the expectation of getting something out of this. Thank you.
Somebody else in the back there, Mr. Creech?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Council. Harvey Creek, resident of Eastpointe. Quite a few of the people here know me. And as I say, I am running for mayor and I am running for council. And I tell you, as I said, what boils down now is I said, please, we need everything that everybody now can bring to the table. Now is the time, as I said, I love what everybody's got to say. Everybody knows me. I've got an attitude. I'm sorry. I've always had an attitude. But you can't take the spots, off a leopard, and you can't take the stripes off a zebra. But to be honest to yourself, and to be honest to all you people, that's what I asked the council. I asked the mayor. I asked our attorney. I asked our finance director. I ask right now that the people get right down and think about exactly what's going to come down. You talk about our churches. We talk about our city. Right now I'm involved in parks and recreation. I want to bring us back to a standard that we all can handle. We have so much going right now. And my wife asked me today, and I have friends that come in, and I've got certain things, and they said, well, what are you going to do? You know something? I'm in a foray right now. I can't say what I'm going to do. The only thing that I want everybody to do is do the best they can. As I said before, too, we have certain things that are drawn in stone right now. We got to take and turn that stone upside down, turn it around, and make it where everybody can understand. And as I said, the churches and the people, the council, the mayor, the lawyers, I don't know what it's going to take. I wish I did, because that would make a perfect solution. I understand now that we're losing our city manager. People, we have to do the best we can do with what we've got to work with. And please, if nothing else, let's try to all work together. Because this fighting and the rest of the stuff, the name calling, whatever, I'm here to do one thing. To work with the city council, work with the mayor, and work with you, and hope somewhere along this line we can draw a line.
You have 30 seconds.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And the lady that come up here, please, you're part of the community like everybody else. As I say, don't try to hide it. I tell everybody, be who you are, when you are, what you are, and enjoy life. And thank you.
Anyone else wish to be heard?
Hello, my name is James Horton. I've been a resident of Eastpointe for 27 years. I'm gay, and I would like to really applaud all of you for trying to pass this resolution. I've heard a lot of negativity, and I've learned a lot of positivity as far as the negativity regarding children. I have 2 stepchildren and 2 step-grandsons that love me dearly, My husband and I have been together for 27 years. Unfortunately, he passed away 7 weeks ago. But I want to applaud you. And for anybody who thinks that having children of a gay couple or grandkids of a gay couple is unchristian, I'm very Christian. I have a lot of faith. I don't know where you're coming from, and you need to look in the mirror. And that's all I have to say, and I applaud you for trying to do this resolution.
Anyone else wish to be heard? In the back, please. Wait. All right.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Madam Mayor, my name is Robert Hagan. I'm a 29-year resident of Eastpointe. I come before you today regarding a policy change that has happened with our water bill. Apparently, now with our water bill, it used to be that whatever delinquency amount was left on our water bill went on our taxes. However, this policy has now changed. It changed in very short form, and apparently it's the finance director's office that is responsible for this change. Now, I've put in a couple of different calls to our finance director's office, to which I have not gotten a response back. But apparently, what says on our May 21st bill, it says all unpaid amounts are going to be put on your taxes. All unpaid amounts. Except now, in June, terminology has changed to say now delinquent amounts are put on there. Now, this doesn't affect my finances drastically by any means, but what concerns me is the rate that this policy change was done. And it was done according to the assistant finance director's office, or their clerk, states it had to be done to be put in line with state law. But apparently, I can't be told what that state law is. Nobody knows. Yet this policy change had to be done in less than 30 days and go against what you put in your letterhead in black and white. Why did it change? Nobody can give an answer. Not even your own employees in the water billing department know anything about this. So where does that stop? All because you have to be put in line with state law that nobody knows what state law? That's very concerning. In which case, your residents weren't informed. I get told by the clerk that we don't need to be informed. If there's a policy change, City of Eastpointe doesn't have to inform anybody whatsoever. So instead, I have to get the runaround and get phone calls ignored. Where does it stop? Marijuana is now recreationally legal in the state of Michigan. Does Eastpointe get put out a policy to say, well, you know what? We don't want to do that. We're going to put out a policy that you can have it. We're going to arrest you to be put in line with federal law. Where does that stop? Nobody knows. Nobody can give me an answer. And everybody else on this board is looking at me except our finance director. By the way, LGBTQ, you guys want...
Mr. Kubiak.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council, Administration, Walter Kubiak, Eastpointe resident. First thing I want to talk about is a lady that gets up here all the time and doesn't like the shirts I wear. Well, she should read the First Amendment. I have the right to wear them because it shows that I that I love my president and I support the things that he's doing. Secondly, we are not elected officials like she came up and stated one night. We are volunteers, and we all take it very serious. Everything we do is to protect this city and its residents. Now, the other reason that I'm up here is the medical marijuana. We tabled it for a reason. It's not ready yet. Medical marijuana is still evolving. And we shouldn't do anything until the dust settles, okay, until it's in stone. And recreation is just coming out. And we don't know how it's going to affect medical marijuana and how it's going to affect this city. Our public safety director, the gentleman sitting over there in a suit, he told council, wait, be patient, don't jump into this thing now, okay? We tabled it for all of those reasons and then some. We want to protect the city. We want to protect all of you that live here. and they're going to go around us tonight. Remember that, especially in November, okay? What you do tonight is not good for this city, and it's not good for the residents. Wait. There's only 3 cities from all the way from the points out to M59 that have jumped in. All the rest of the cities are waiting. Why are they waiting? And why are they ready to jump into it? What's the hurry? I hope you change your mind and don't touch that. Leave it alone.
In the back, Mr. Lubeck.
Jeffrey Lubeck, Eastpointe resident, also a volunteer on the Planning Commission. If we ever get through this hearing of the public, the first order of business you're going to have is going to be to approve the joint meeting between the City Council and the Planning Commission, which was held to discuss medical marijuana. And Mr. Kubiak is right. Our Public Safety Director was asked for his input on it, and he said, I cannot give you any input because everything is not clearly defined. It's still evolving. He also recommended that we wait. Unanimously at the Planning Commission, we voted to wait 6 months. Now on today's agenda, well, we're just going to go around them and we're going to shove it through anyway. What is the hurry? And I keep thinking, what is the hurry? As I look in this room, I see a lot of people that show up at Planning Commission meetings all of a sudden, particularly when the medical marijuana issue is up. And they have subtle ways of trying to push their site plans on us for what they want to do in the city before there's even an ordinance that says they can do it. And then I realize this is also an election year, and there are 3 people sitting up there for election. And I begin to wonder, is that what the big hurry is? I don't know. But I tell you, it does give me reason to pause and think. And I wanted you to pause and think about something for a minute, too. It was 2008, I believe, that medical marijuana was approved by the voters. Councils repeatedly have voted in a moratorium. Now all of a sudden, it's got to be on the fast track. And think about this. I know some of you, most of you up there, probably were not alive when John F. Kennedy made the speech about putting a man on the moon and bringing him safely home again. That happened 50 years ago this year. And he wanted to do it by the end of the decade. Well, they just met that target, but he made that speech in 1961. The advantage was the NASA scientists knew what the laws of physics were and knew they weren't going to change. The problem we're facing with marijuana is we're not clear what the laws are or when they're going to change next based on who's had the most effective lobbyist.
Does anyone else wish to be heard? Mr. Pren.
My name is Marty Pren. I currently live at 23091 Lambrick, but I'll be on the move. I'll explain that in the other 3 minutes that I have at the end of the meeting. But this past Saturday was June 15th, which is International Elder Abuse Awareness Day. And I held a rally over at the Mount Clemens, or the Macomb County Circuit Court, with the permission of Mark Hackle, the county executive. And we're looking to get people like you that have been here today to be a voice for the elderly. There's elder abuse going on, and I love the passion that the one lady has about the dogs and cats, but we need that same passion for the elderly. Currently, there is an ongoing court case involving a Utica couple that were put under a court-ordered guardianship, and we need people to be their voice and to allow their daughter the God-given right to be their guardian. I'm wearing purple today because purple is the color to recognize elder and guardianship abuse. And I have a couple of initiatives that I want to get started. Somewhere along the line, we started a Me Too movement. And at tonight's meeting, I would like to start a We Speak Up meeting. And Lord knows we had a lot of people speak up today, and I think that's absolutely wonderful. Whether I agree with your position or not, the fact that you're coming out here and speaking speaks volumes of this city. As a token of my appreciation of the City Council, and I have something for Peggy as well, I'm asking for the City Council members to consider taking one of these green light bulbs and putting it on your front porch at night, but especially next year. I'm putting together, if you could pass those down, and then the IHOP bulbs go to the two police officers. But I'm planning an event for next year so it doesn't clash with the Gratiot Cruise or hopefully the Fraser Families Against Narcotics. And I want to start a movement with having these green lights, just like they do up and down the streets, to show unity. And there will be an event next June 12th. I'm putting together a unity dinner, Hometown Heroes Unity Dinner. And on that Saturday the 13th, which is 2 days before International Elder Abuse Day Awareness, we'll be having another rally over at the courthouse. But there's two Christmas bulbs, and I got one for Peggy as a going-away gift, if you will.
And your time is up.
And it's from IHOP, and it's to demonstrate that I help other people. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am.
Hi, my name is April Brzezowski. I am a proud resident of Eastpointe for 24 years. In fact, 3 months ago, our house is paid in full, and I'm very proud to be an Eastpointe resident with a paid in full house. I want to get up and speak towards the LGBTQ resolution tonight. I'm a bisexual woman that has never really admitted that in public before. It means a lot to fly the flag and to be proud and to be accepted.
Stand here with you.
I have family members that are also gay. I have a child going through some stuff right now, trying to figure out who they are. And I'm also a Free Will Baptist pastor's daughter. And it hurts me to hear pastors get up and say, no, we need to discriminate more against a group of people.
Amen.
That is exactly the message that came across, that it is not the time, it is not appropriate, it is not family safe. You know what? What is a family? I've been to most of your churches. I love Love Life. You have a great, great congregation. I feel the love every time I walk in that door. But to say it's not right, that we need to do something else first. We have to have a kickoff point. We have to include everyone. And we have to show pride for everyone. The Arts Council did a Black History Month. It was not enough. We need to declare that as well. There's a lot of stuff we need to declare and support each other. A family doesn't mean just blood. A family is what you make of it. And everybody in Eastpointe, I feel, is my community, is my family.
You have 30 seconds, ma'am.
I really hope that you do approve this resolution tonight. Thank you.
Hopefully I'm the last. Margaret Pashadlik, Eastpointe resident. That's a tough one to follow, Ro. Very heartfelt and emotional. I've been a lifelong resident here for 53 years. I feel very fortunate to live in this community. I was married here. I raised my family here. My kids reside here with me. I love my community. I tried to be very active as much as possible. Two things I want to speak to. I'll try to keep it as brief as possible. The marijuana issue. I kind of like to dummy down the issue and liken it to, say, the party stores that we currently have and the liquor stores that we currently have in our city. It's kind of like that. If you think about the marijuana issue in that perspective, it puts it a little bit differently. I think we've all been ingrained to believe that, you know, it's illegal and it's a bad thing, but it can be very beneficial for very many people, for numerous people. There are so many people that you know who utilize medical marijuana and recreational as well. They're not bad people, folks. It's just, you know, a product, that's all. So I wholeheartedly support it. Secondly, with respect to the resolution today that you have before you, you have an opportunity to do something positive, to do something good for this community. I'm imploring you just to consider the resolution that's before you. I've actually had an opportunity to read it, and I didn't think there was anything offensive in there. I thought it was, well, really benign. Essential rights. That's what I viewed it as, essential rights. So I would hope that you guys would keep the unity in our community and vote positively for the resolution. Thank you.
Yeah, sir, you've already spoke. Anyone else wish to be heard at this time? You can speak again at the second hearing of the public. Sir, in the back.
Hi, my name is Keith Spiller, pastor of a church, Pentecostal Church of Jesus Christ here in Eastpointe. And I just want to, I'm listening to what's going on, and I don't know a lot about the resolution that's being proposed in terms of the LGBTQ. I did want to say, it just seems to me, if I have a particular view, happen to be apostolic, if there's no apostolic Pride Month, I wouldn't feel like I'm rejected. I wouldn't feel like not being a part of the community. If someone's a Baptist Pride Month, they shouldn't feel rejected or a part of the community, or they shouldn't feel like they need to have a Pride Month in order to feel accepted. I believe in a space called being able to live together by agreeing to disagree. I don't feel like I have the right to promote my beliefs over anyone. I don't feel like anyone should have a right to promote their particular beliefs on me. And because I do not promote what I believe over someone else does not mean that I hate the person or I have issues with them. It's simply, hey, you can believe what you believe. Allow me to believe what I believe. So I have gay people in my family. I've known a lot. I have current friends. I don't have an issue with them. I don't try to espouse my beliefs on them, and I appreciate them not trying to say, hey, you got to view things this way. So I don't see a problem with being able to agree to disagree and not saying we have something against anyone in a particular community. But people have children. People can be influenced by things that are put out there in the atmosphere, and I think it takes some control away from parenting to be able to influence their children the way they would like to, and doesn't necessarily mean that they have a particular angst or anxiety or anger against someone who has a different particular belief. Just want to say.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wish to be heard? Mr. Lucido.
Hello. I just want to speak briefly in support of the LGBTQ resolution. I think it's a good thing, and there's no reason not to be friendly and not to be welcoming. I know from personal experience, I don't know anybody in my family who's gay or lesbian, and so it's not coming from a spot like that. It's coming just from a spot with, like, my son's handicapped, and I know that when I go into a building and there's that nice button where I can hit it and it opens the door, I feel welcomed. When the ramp's nice and I'm not trying to go through 2 doors to get in, I feel welcomed. The proclamation is just about being welcoming and just being a welcoming city. That's all it is. So when I see that, I would think that that would be something that we would all be in support of. Like, when I see the handicap sign, I'm not saying, like, we're promoting, like, handicapness. It's just a helping thing. It just says you're welcome. Teen suicide, I'm also a clinical psychologist. I lived in the city for a very long time. I used to work for East Detroit Public Schools. And the suicide rate for teens who are LGBTQ is very, very high. NBC just did a story on it, and they were saying it could be as high as 25% of teen suicides are related to LGBTQ. And when you think about that sense of welcoming, if this resolution doesn't pass, in the East Side, or the front page is going to be like, Eastpointe says no to LGBTQ residents. I mean, that's what it's going to say. And I don't know if we want that. Because what else is there? We're just saying, no, you can't be recognized. You're not an actual group. You should be the opposite of pride. You should be shamed. You're not welcome. That's all I have to say.
Anyone else wish to be heard? Anyone else? Anyone else wish to be heard? I saw somebody pointing at somebody. Mr. Mann. Mr. Mann is leaving. Did Mr. Mann give his seat to one of those women that are standing in the back, please? All right. Anyone else wish to be heard? Seeing none, the first hearing of the public is closed. Let's move on to approval of the minutes, and we have a whole lot of these. So I would entertain a motion first for the joint city council planning commission meeting that existed on May 28th.
Madam Mayor, I motion to approve the joint city council planning commission meeting of May 28th, 2019.
Support.
Move and support, please call the roll.
Councilmember Lucido.
Yes.
Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Owens.
I wasn't there,
Abstain. Pixley.
Yes.
DeMonico.
Yes.
Second meeting is a special city council meeting on June 4th, 2019. Do we have a motion, please?
Madam Mayor, I motion to approve the special city council meeting of June 4th, 2019.
Support.
Move and support, please call the roll.
Councilmember Lucido.
Yes.
Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Owens.
Yes.
Pixley.
Yes.
DeMonico.
Yes.
The next one is the closed session minutes from the special meeting on June 4th, 2019.
Madam Mayor, I motion to approve the closed session minutes of the special meeting of June 4th, 2019.
Support.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Lucido.
Yes.
Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Owens.
Yes.
Pixley.
Yes.
DeMonico.
Yes.
And in case anybody thinks we never have a meeting, this is the third meeting on June 4th, 2019. Can we have a motion to that, please?
Madam Mayor, I motion to approve the closed session minutes of June 4th, 2019.
Support.
Move and support, please call the roll.
Councilmember Lucido.
Yes.
Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Owens.
Yes.
Pixley.
Yes.
DeMonico.
Yes.
Item E is the closed meeting on June 4th, 2019.
Madam Mayor, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I did the closed session for D.
Okay.
So, Madam Mayor, I motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of June 4th, 2019.
Support.
Move and support, please call the roll.
Councilmember Lucido.
Yes.
Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Owens.
Yes.
Pixley.
Yes.
DeMonico.
Yes.
Item F is the special city council meeting on June 6th, 2019.
Madam Mayor, I motion to approve the special city council meeting of June 6th, 2019.
Support.
Move and support it. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Lucido.
Yes.
Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Owens.
Yes.
Pixley.
Yes.
DeMonico.
Yes.
Item G is the closed session minutes of June 6th, 2019.
Madam Mayor, I motion to approve the closed session minutes of June 6, 2019.
Support.
Moved and supported, please call the roll.
Councilmember Lucido.
Yes.
Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Owens.
Yes.
Pixley.
Yes.
DeMonico.
Yes.
Aha. We're done with meetings. Let's move into unfinished business. And we'll start with item A, which is the second reading and the adoption of ordinance number 1168, fiscal year 2019-20 appropriations and tax levies. Somebody have anything to change, add?
Well, I think there were just the two items we needed to finish discussing, the district court raises and the department head raises.
And I can have an update for council. The finance director and I met with the judge yesterday. He needs to get back to us with a little bit more information. So at this point in time, we are unprepared to make a good recommendation to council. However, since the fiscal year begins one day before the next meeting, a budget amendment at that time, if necessary, could be made. So it's not as though whatever is being discussed is going to have a major impact on the budget if council's comfortable with that. We seem to be moving in the right direction if council is concerned about that as well from the original request. And then regarding the staff raises, we actually have a couple of ways that we can go about doing this. Looking at the numbers, we can actually do under the administrative rules what's considered a merit raise increase. That can be done under the current fiscal year without any budget amendments. Prepared to go that route. Or if council wants to actually make this a permanent change to rates that would be effective for July 1st, then we can go that route, and then a budget amendment could be presented for the July 2nd meeting. So whatever direction council wants to go, we're prepared. One way we don't need a budget amendment, the other way we do.
Personally, I would rather not see merit raises because I really feel that you've only been here a short period of time and you really don't know the full capacity and the performance of many of our department heads over the past year. So if you were to give a merit raise, it would only be based on perhaps 4 to 5 months of their actual performance. So I would rather just go with some type of a blanket raise that's equal perhaps to what the contracts, our contracted employees might be getting.
I think we should be having yearly performance reviews, no matter.
Well, I
guess,
think
who
you have
the
to have a
manager is.
performance review, but you'd have to take it in combination with the previous manager.
Sure, and then we should be considering raises each year, I think. That's how
I totally agree.
you keep good employees around.
I think at some point, the department heads have not had a raise in what, 2 years?
2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So then I was going to just suggest like
A blanket.
2% or something.
Yeah, I totally
across.
agree.
And I guess that would be to the sheet, because if we leave that scale the same, it stays the same forever, so should just be built into that, and then it's at the manager's discretion to do the merit-based raises.
What we could do then, if that's the direction council wants to go, because it affects so many different accounts, and then with the additional costs for pension, FICA, et cetera, is we can do the calculation and then present that as a formal budget amendment for the July 2nd meeting.
Would that
I
work?
would be fine with that.
Is that going to work?
Yes, that'd be the preferred method, is just approve it as is tonight and then handle it as an amendment on the 2nd. Because he is right, it goes across too many areas to try to pencil it in here at the table.
I mean, do we need the exact, if we approve it?
Yes.
We know what
This is an ordinance. The ordinance has to be what council's adopting. We don't have the ability to make the changes.
Fine. Okay. And no one was changing on the water or sewer rate? All right.
Madam Mayor, I motion to give second reading to adopt ordinance 1168, which provides for the appropriations and tax levies, establishes the water consumption rates, and establishes the sewer service rates for fiscal year 2019-20.
Support. Excuse me, support.
Moved and supported, please call the roll.
Councilmember Lucido.
Yes.
Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Owens.
Yes.
Pixley.
Yes.
DeMonico.
No.
Item B is the second reading and the adoption of ordinance number 1169 to amend Chapter 12, Business by adding a new article.
Madam Mayor, I move to give second reading and adopt ordinance 1169, which prohibits recreational marijuana businesses and establishments in the city pursuant to the Michigan Regulation and Taxation of Marijuana Act, ballot proposal 1 of 2018.
Support.
Move and support. Further discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Lucido.
Yes.
Owens.
Yes.
Pixley.
Yes.
DeMonico.
Yes.
Item C is the bid award for the municipal planning service.
Madam Mayor, council actually has two choices based on the resolution. One choice is to keep the existing firm for the same type of service, which is basically attending the various planning commission and zoning board meetings, as well as the pay-for-fee services for plan review. The other option that council has, which we did not request in the RFP, but which was offered, and on the RFP, but in the RFQ, which was offered, and thought it was worth considering, at least for council to consider, is to actually have a planner here in the building a minimum of 4 hours a week. And this person then would be able to essentially be a central point of contact for any new businesses or anyone looking to make any changes to planning and zoning. And in the event that the person does not have visitors during, we're going to call those regular office hours, we do have several amendments to the zoning ordinance that have been identified that need to be prepared and introduced and presented to the Planning Commission for consideration. Those normally would be done at an additional charge. In the event that the planner is not doing anything in terms of customer service, then they would be able to operate on those types of changes. If council recalls, you just approved a new master plan. Generally, when you have a new master plan, sometimes you need some ordinance amendments as a result of that. We have discovered that the existing ordinance does have several statements, but does not have predefined criteria, which if those questions ever come before the Planning Commission is without a guide. So at some point, the city will be spending money on the planner for amendments to the zoning ordinance, proposed amendments. The question is, do you want to pay by the hour, or would you like to take the opportunity to maybe offer some additional customer service? And then if the customer service isn't necessary, then the planner would be able to work on those amendments at that time. The difference between the two options is, option one is standard service is $650 a month, and option two with the office hours is $2,100 a month. If you're looking about budget concerns, for this fiscal year, I'm thinking ahead. We're not quite prepared to name a new economic development director. That process is probably going to take at least 60 days at the least, and the savings from that, I'm going to call it a delayed hiring, could be used to offset this $2,100 a month in the current budget. So hopefully I have clarified, along with providing the detailed information, and we do have some new performance standards and guidelines that we included in the RFQ, so that way the consultant knows what the city's demands are, as well as council. So in the event that there is a failure to deliver, we'll be able to have that discussion with some clear standards.
So I have a question for you. So is there any way we could, well, actually, there is a way. Can we try this for 6 months and then see if the time is utilized while the planner is here to see if it's worth it, and then if not, switch back to the way we originally did it?
I would think that that is a viable option, being that this is something that the planner has presented to us. If that's the direction council wishes to go, I would recommend that the motion that you make indicate as such, and if for some reason the planner says no, it's an either all or nothing, well, then we simply come back at the next meeting and fix it. But at least this gives the planner some certainty that, yes, they will be our official planner as of July the 1st, and how we structure it, and which will be determined over the next 2 weeks before the start of the fiscal year, could easily be answered.
So I have a question. Have you posted the position for the new economic development director?
I have circulated a job description that was on file. I think it was yesterday I did it. and I have removed the references to the building official because some of the requirements, job requirements in the job description relate to building official work, which is not what we're looking for. So if council has a chance to look at that and you have any feedback, feel free to give it to me. And once I'm assured that council is satisfied with the existing job description with the, I'm going to call those deletions that are needed for technical reasons, and also adding in the responsibility of managing the tax reversion program, which I heard council say during the budget meeting. If you're comfortable with that, then we can release that advertisement, and we don't have to go to civil service for reclassification or anything.
I think I would agree with Ms. Lucido that I would prefer to have a 6-month limited effort on the part additional to the McKenna. And I guess we haven't voted on the McKenna.
Yeah,
I would like to have 6 months added to that and see how that works. And then at the same time, I would like to see that job description ASAP so we can see, because I know previously they did have some working together with business and finance and all, and so that job description is important before we put that out for bids.
And when I talked to McKenna the other day, they said some of the things that they will be doing in the office that they already do, they just do it over the phone. So when we pay them and people make those calls, are we charged per call?
Depends. Now, I'm aware that during the month of, where'd it go? Oh, up here. During the months of April and May, there were some additional bills, also during the months of March. My guess is that a lot of those charges were as a result of the work that was being done with the medical marijuana ordinance. I didn't get into the details, but we're going to call it the easy questions, a simple, hey, what's this look like? If they can answer it, they're not going to be charging us. It's clear in the RFQ what they should and should not be doing in terms of extra charging. If this is something that's going to involve a lot of research, development of something, then that's going to kick in the hourly rate. But a simple question is, well, is 123 Main Street zoned for business district? Well, that's an easy question that they could answer that they should not be charging us for.
Now, those bills you have, how much were those 2 months?
We have, and I'll start from January, additional charges are as follows. January was $339.50, February was $0, March was $388, April was $218.25, and then May was $922.
So none of them even reach over $1,000, but we're about to pay $2,100 for services they already give us?
You can look at it from this standpoint. We're looking at about $1,500 because that's the difference between the monthly and the office hours and the standard rate. However, we really, with the exception of the month of May, really did not throw that much at them. If you're looking at doing a series of amendments to the zoning ordinance, let's say that there's some studies, concerns about whether throw out an example. Are the parking restrictions on Gratiot Avenue too restrictive? That's going to cost a little bit of money and time to go into something like that. So if the planner is actually doing a good, firm analysis of the ordinance, that will cost, and you will probably incur those costs. Depending on how active the city wants to be in terms of reviewing and potentially amending the zoning ordinance will drive what those costs are and whether you're actually going to theoretically use that additional $1,500 a month over the next 6 months, assuming we don't have the visitors coming in on a weekly basis.
What do you have in the budget?
We have enough to basically cover the regular monthly.
So it wasn't provided to add the additional time?
No, it wasn't. But as I indicated, we're not hiring an economic development director within 60 days, and the savings from that alone should be able to cover us.
How long have you been working with McKenna?
McKenna has had at least 3 years. I believe they came in when the prior consultant closed up shop, is the best way to describe it.
In the office, and we were able to continue to do a great job with them not having an office here and saved a lot of money.
That's a judgment call. Could the city have dedicated more time to potential developers that didn't come because we didn't have someone here? That's a difficult question to answer. Did we provide adequate service to those that came here? If they actually ended up going through with the development, then I guess we'd be able to find that out. I've been in communities where we've actually had a dedicated planner in the building a certain period of the week, and I've been in communities where we haven't. Some of those communities have had room for development, others have had not, others were in the middle. It depends really what you want the person to do. If you want them to be here for customer service and you know you've got the customers coming in, then it's a good thing to have them here. If you know that you're going to be doing a lot of amendments to the zoning ordinance, and this is going to be a much more cost-efficient method of drafting those amendments without knowing and realizing that you're not going to have that customer flow, then that's something that council should consider. Ideally, the purpose behind the economic development director is to enhance the communication between the business owners, the residents, and the city, and to make that a nice, smooth transition. By having someone who's with the planning firm who's actually responsible for reviewing the site plans and should know the ordinance like the back of their hand, will make that discussion much quicker. It won't be, well, let me look into that and I'll get back to you because I don't know the zoning ordinance like the back of my hand like the city planner should.
What other communities they do this for have an office in their building?
Some communities have an on-site planner, some communities have an employee who's a planner, other communities have decided, like we have over the previous years, just to have one on an as-call or needed basis. It really depends what the goals and values are of the community.
Ms. Owens, I do understand your concern because I had the same concern because I'm like, I don't think we're spending this much difference in money.
Yeah.
But I am interested in possibly trying it, and that's why I made the recommendation to try it for 6 months. Let's see if it's utilized. Let's see if business owners and things, if this is actually helping them and residents and helping them with their, problems. Let's just see if it's beneficial. So that's why I made that suggestion. I actually talked to Ms. Haw today because I asked the same thing, and she did. There is quite a bit of communities that actually do utilize this 4 hours a week.
I think we should hire an economic developer first, because that economic developer that will work with Mary Van Haren can probably answer some of those questions for the residents, and they work here.
But I think a lot of the economic development work is also outside of the building.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would have to agree to try it for 6 months, and obviously McKenna has been here for a while, so.
And I think that having an economic developer they're going to actually utilize that 4 hours more. So we're going to end up paying more for planning services once we have this economic developer position filled. We're going to end up spending more on planning because they're going to be utilizing our planners a lot more than we're utilizing them now.
So would you like to make a motion to that effect?
Madam Mayor, I motion to resolve that the Eastpointe City Council awards the bid for municipal planning services to McKenna for regular retainer services with
Office hours for 6
office
months.
hours for 6 months trial basis and to be reevaluated at that time and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement.
Do we have support?
Support.
Please call the roll.
Just one.
You want another comment?
I was just going to say, just at the end of the 6 months, if McKenna could just give us a quick review of what they'd done over that 6 months.
Absolutely.
And from a management standpoint, I will commit that we will track in that particular office the number of customers that we get during those office hours, as well as have a report on, we'll call it ordinance and hourly work that could be done in the interim.
So maybe some of that work that we have with the available properties that are open that Ms. Van Haren is trying to get on the website, maybe that's one of the very first things that we can get done, so we can get it out there and available. All right, please call the roll.
Councilmember Lucido.
Yes.
DeMonico.
Yes.
Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Owens.
Yes.
Pixley.
Yes. Let's move on to reports from administration. We'll start with our city manager, Mr. Sabota.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This past Saturday, and actually the week before, was a very busy week here in the city with the cruise in Gratiot. I believe that we as government need to thank our DPW workers, especially those who literally were on their hands and knees beautifying the city. The work that they did, both in preparation and also during and the cleanup after, is commendable. Also, I wish to express the city's thanks to the Michigan State Police, Macomb County Sheriff, and the police departments of St. Clair Shores, Shelby Township, Harper Woods, Sterling Heights, and Roseville, who provided mutual aid assistance during the event. The reports from the director were excellent. We had no incidents at all. So this was a very good, safe, and family-friendly event, and hopefully we'll be able to continue this into the future. Speaking of public safety, the director has announced that he will have a public safety neighborhood watch meeting on Thursday, June 20th at 6:30 in the high school auditorium. Now, this venue was selected because of the size, due to the large turnout we had at the last one. Questions are being asked whether we will be able to tape and broadcast this. We're still looking into that. I know that we do not have direct taping capabilities like we do in this chamber. However, the request is being made to the school district to see if they have any resources that may be able to help us. So we're looking into it. We're not promising it. So if you really want to know what's going on, I suggest you go down to the auditorium and find out for yourself, because getting the news from directly for yourself is better than getting it secondhand. And that is at 6:30 on the 20th. A reminder to the businesses out there, business license applications and fees are due at the end of the month. So if you have a business and have not yet renewed your business license, please do so. I would like to address some of the concerns that have been raised by residents at prior meetings. The concern with Holbrook Street was referred to the DPW. At this point in time, all they were able to do was some cold patching. I can tell you that the DPW director, along with the city engineers, have been evaluating all of the streets in the city, and they have or are in the process of completing by the end of the month various options for the council to consider in a proposed capital improvement plan. So all of that information will be presented to City Council, so at least the public will have an idea where they may stand on some of these issues. We do appreciate the questions and concerns as they do come in from the public. We will do our best to address those if possible. If we do not have the proper funding necessary, for example, of completely redoing Holbrook Street, well, then that's a matter that has to come back to City Council, and they have to make that decision. What year are we going to fund it, and how are we going to pay for it? Now, I'm going to talk about the internet. And I'm not going to be repeating exactly what I delivered to the Chamber of Commerce earlier today. However, in Eastpointe, we have crossed that line. We are now operating, at least in most instances, online in the 21st century. And there's a couple of things I would like to call the attention to all of the residents and interested parties in the city. Number one, we are in the process of creating a brand new recreation master plan. Now, this plan is very important because as long as we have a recreation master plan on file with the state of Michigan, for 5 years, we have the ability to request grant money to make improvements to our parks. I know that this is a family city and there is a great concern for the parks. We are using general fund money at the present time to make some improvements. If we had a proper recreation master plan on file with the state, we would have been able to obtain grant money for these same renovations. The only way that we're going to be able to get this master plan off the ground is if we have your input from the community. So there is a link on our homepage, right-hand side, scroll down a little bit, Recreation Master Plan Survey. Please participate. Your feedback is essential to the city council, to the recreation authority, to develop and present a proper plan so that we will be able to apply for grants. This is going to need to be completed soon because we need to have the cities of Eastpointe, Roseville, and the Recreation Authority adopt this plan by the end of this calendar year. So there's going to be a couple of public hearings as well, but your first opportunity to participate is participating in that survey. It is available online. Other things that we have available online. For several years, the city has had the ability for residents and actually anyone to look up information on what we have in our assessing database, code enforcement status, property taxes, property sales, and water bills. That's basically, you look and you can do it for free. We have had the ability to pay property taxes online as well as your water bills online. And that's really basically been the amount of work that we could do online up until this month. A couple of weeks ago, we actually started last month with a soft launch, but now it's a full launch. We have added several more features online, and one brand new one was added at 4 o'clock today, which I learned of at 3 o'clock, and it only took us an hour to implement. So this is brand new news to everyone. Remember I said we've got business license renewals coming up? Well, beginning July the 1st at least, although you can probably do it now, anyone who has a business that needs to change information on their business license will be able to make that request online. And residents will also be able to look up the status of licensed business online. So that's something new that we just implemented. We didn't have to pay for it because we already had a service that sort of paid for it. It was just hidden, and it's now been activated. Also this month, we have implemented the ability to apply for I'm going to call it a construction code permit online. In other words, you need a building permit, an electrical permit, a mechanical permit, plumbing permit, a zoning permit, a fence permit. All types of permits can now be applied for online. You have the ability to upload those plans online so that the inspectors could review those online. In other words, you don't have to pay someone to come down to City Hall, stand in line, submit an application, wait to have it processed, go pay the bill, and come back. So hopefully this is definitely going to be a benefit to many of the homeowners and business owners. For those of you who are renting a house and you want to know if your landlord is in compliance with the city's rental ordinance, we now have online a item that says search rental properties. And there's, I think, 4,800 properties that are listed right now, and it says right now, if you have a certificate, when that certificate was issued, when it expires, and if you don't, well, it also says that as well. You also have the ability, if you have a permit or a rental property, to schedule an inspection, make that request online, so you don't have to call the office anymore. So those are new features that we have just implemented. Also, if you have some concerns about code enforcement issue and you don't want to send an email or you don't want to make the telephone call, you now have an ability to create a request online. And it can be for the building department, it could be for the DPW. We also have a couple other offices in there. It will ask you a series of questions so that your concern can be directed directly to the correct department. And if you want to know what the status of your request is, well, we've got that option as well. So when you file a request, you're going to get a number, and then you have the ability to check on the status of that request. Now, where's all this information available? Where can you find it? You can find it on our home page. As you scroll down, we've added about 3 buttons, if you will, with nice little logos towards the top of the page, information on how to apply for a permit, search rental properties, and schedule an inspection. We should have the ability to pay for a permit soon. We have an issue with our credit card company needing to press a button to make that happen. Once that happens, you will actually be able to to pay for a construction code permit online. The other way to finding this information out is going to the website bsaonline.com. bsaonline.com. When I ask you what city, you type in the word Eastpointe, and then you will get this menu on the left-hand side of the screen that identifies all of these options that I just outlined to you. In the near future, you will also be able to apply for a job online. So those paper applications that we have, those will be a thing of the past. You will be able to apply online for a job. And speaking of jobs, we have posted 3 part-time positions, and the closing deadline is July the 15th. We are looking for 1 part-time clerk. We are looking for 1 part-time code enforcement and rental inspection officer, and also a part-time building inspector. So if you're interested and are qualified for any of those positions, feel free to submit an application. And we are also looking to hire at least 1 more firefighter, and the closing deadline for that is June 20th, which coincides with the director's public meeting. And I think at this point I've probably talked enough, So I will turn this over to the council in case anyone has any questions, because I think we have a few items on the agenda that we may need to go through. So thank you.
I don't have any questions.
I don't have any questions.
I don't have any questions. You answered all our questions.
Oh, one thing I did forget, water bills. There was a question regarding water bills. There is actually a state law from, I think it's from 1933, liens, unpaid water bill liens, that allows us to place the unpaid water bills on the property taxes. However, if you are afraid of receiving a water bill and not being able to, and forgetting to pay for it, you have a way to pay online. However, we also have the ability to actually deduct that payment automatically from your checking account or saving account through an ACH payment authorization agreement. This form is available online under Forms on the city's webpage, and what we do is when your water bill is done at some point just before that particular due date, we actually withdraw that amount from your bank account. We don't have that many residents who take advantage of this, but there is no charge for this. But if you pay using a credit card, there is an additional charge. So if you're worried about paying your water bill and you know you always have money in your account, we will still send you a statement so you know how much is coming out. But if you want to have that payment taken out automatically, just download this form, or you can request one at the treasurer's office, and we'll be happy to make sure that you'll never face another penalty for a late water bill. And with that, I think I am complete.
I'd like to ask, though, was there a change in the policy? Because he's saying that in 1 month there was one thing on his bill, and the following month it changed. Did we change the wording or anything on the bills? Because it didn't come before council to change any kind of policy.
The wording was a clarification. The definition of delinquent water was changed to comply with state law. We had just been operating from the standpoint that the May 21st was our cutoff to get it on the summer bill. If it wasn't paid by May 22nd, it was delinquent. We rolled it on. Through researching some other water-related topics, there's actually a state law that defines delinquent as 6 months past due, basically, before it's considered delinquent. So we changed our definition of delinquent to comply with state law, which meant instead of 100% of the unpaid balance going on taxes, only a portion of it did. It's just something that we kind of stumbled across. Actually, it's another law that's probably from 1937.
I just think that when there is a change in policy like that, or a change in the water bill, that it would be really good to send a note out ahead of time, or to, at least to council, so we can answer the questions when they come up,
Yeah.
or people call us. But I think also it would have been maybe just a courteous to send a little note in the water bill saying beginning next month, the wording is going to be changed or something.
Yeah.
Because that way, who is that man that was angry?
But on the good side, Mayor.
Now you understand what happened. Okay.
But on the good side, Mayor, this gentleman actually has less to pay on his tax bill because we didn't put as much on there.
Mr. Blum, can you just send a summary out, and maybe we even just
Mhm.
post that on Facebook or the website?
Yeah.
too?
Or if you could just put it on the city's Facebook page, that would be good.
Or have Heather put it on the Facebook page.
I'm sure that somebody over there, Mr. Rueb, or somebody else can tell you how to put it on our Facebook page. All righty, Mr.
Yeah, I was going to touch on that anyway, so we already covered it. The one item that I wanted to mention is we received the county delinquent tax payment yesterday, a little over $3 million. In the theme of technology that was just discussed, we recently went to a remote deposit where we scan the checks, make sure they're all balanced, and then just electronically remit the file to the bank. So the check was received in the mail yesterday. It was scanned and sent to the bank yesterday, and the funds were available today, which allowed me to then transfer it to the short-term investment fund and start getting interest now instead of waiting for somebody to have time to go to the bank and process the checks.
So you put those in short-term investments?
Yes. Yep.
If you have not seen that check machine, that is incredible. I'm trying to talk other businesses into buying those check machines because it would save so much time.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to give the name of that machine and its availability? Is it available?
It was one specific to Flagstar. They basically had two options that were compatible with their bank. So it would depend on what bank you're dealing with and what equipment they wanted you to use. So,
I was amazed how many checks you could handle so fast.
yep, well, we had to get the higher volume one. And that was all I had, so.
All right, any questions for the finance director? All right, let's move on to our city attorney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. At the last regularly scheduled council meeting, the city announced that it had entered into an agreement with the Department of Justice regarding the voting rights case. At that same meeting, I read a press release that the city had prepared detailing the circumstances surrounding that consent decree. The following day, on June 5th, the Department of Justice also released its own press release. And in the interest of the members of the public that are here this evening who may have not heard the city's press release, I'd like to read, Madam Mayor, the Department of Justice press release, which essentially mirrors and is reflective of the city's press release. Again, it was released on June 5th, 2019, and it states, the Department of Justice announced today that it has entered into an agreement to settle a voting rights lawsuit with the city of Eastpointe, Michigan. The department's lawsuit challenges the method of electing the city council in Eastpointe under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Under this agreement, the city will change its method of electing its city council to ensure compliance with the protections of Section 2. The agreement, which must be approved by the Federal District Court in Detroit, was entered into by the parties to resolve the department's lawsuit with the city of Eastpointe, filed in 2017. The department's complaint alleges the current method of election for the Eastpointe City Council results in black citizens in Eastpointe having less opportunity than white citizens to participate in the political process and to elect candidates of their choice to the City Council in violation of Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Subject to court approval, the agreement will alter the method of electing the Eastpointe City Council from a traditional at-large method of election to one that utilizes ranked choice voting beginning with the November 2019 election. Under the agreement, the city council members will continue to be elected on a citywide basis, but under the new ranked choice voting system, Eastpointe voters will rank city council candidates in their order of preference. The agreement provides that the city will conduct a robust voter education program for the new method of election. This agreement reflects the department's resolute commitment to vigorous enforcement of the Voting Rights Act to protect the rights to vote in all elections, said Assistant Attorney General Eric Treband for the Civil Rights Division. Quote, "We are pleased that the city of Eastpointe has worked cooperatively with the department to adopt a solution that safeguards the right to vote," unquote. Voting is a cornerstone of our republic, and the Justice Department is committed to protecting and strengthening the right to vote, stated the United States Attorney for the Eastern District of Michigan, Matthew Schneider. Quote, "This settlement reflects the desire of all of the parties to ensure the citizens of Eastpointe have a meaningful opportunity to choose their elected representatives," unquote. And the court, after that press release and the city's press release, the court has scheduled a hearing on the parties' joint motion to approve that consent decree, and that will take place on June 26, which is next Wednesday at 10 a.m. at the federal courthouse in downtown Detroit. That hearing is open to the public. Members of the public are welcome to attend that hearing. Cameras are not allowed in the courthouse, but you are certainly welcome to attend and watch the proceedings. And that being said, Madam Mayor, I have nothing further to add this evening.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Albright?
I did, Madam Mayor. I wanted to see what council felt and perhaps direct Rich to prepare a resolution to submit a charter amendment to the, it's the AG's office, right? That we
Yes.
sent. Section 18 regarding the manager still has the provision that the city manager shall have at least 1 year experience as a manager or assistant manager in another city, village, township, et cetera. I actually think starting with that line, I'd like to propose striking the rest of that provision and putting it on the ballot in November.
Do you have time?
It's close. If the council approves the language at the next meeting, we will get it off to the Attorney General's office. It's not a big change, so I don't think this is something that will require a lot of analysis by the Attorney General's office. So it's something that they should be able to handle in a relatively short period of time.
That's really cutting it close if you want to get it on the ballot, back in time to get on the July 23rd ballot.
I think there is enough time, of course, if the city wanted to schedule a special meeting to vote on that language, but I think that it's something that the city can do under the circumstances.
We can certainly try. If they don't respond in time, then we don't put it on the ballot, but if they do. And the last, just to note, the last time we did a charter amendment, I believe, was approved on April 19th, 2016. Almost the same resolution. I think it'd be really easy to draft.
Madam Mayor, based on my experience with charter amendments, if council is serious about putting this on the November ballot, you're going to need to hold a special meeting. We're cutting it really, really close. That's just my recommendation from experience. I'm not big on holding meetings, but I think if you really want to get this on the November ballot, you should consider it if Mr. Albright can get this turned around relatively quickly. Because waiting 2 weeks, I don't think it's going to happen.
Would you be willing to have a special meeting next week on Tuesday? Could you get it done by Tuesday?
Oh, yes.
It's just a few lines, is it not?
Yeah. It's just striking, I think, one sentence.
And what is, just so, what is the sentence again?
The sentence beginning with "the manager shall have at least 1 year experience," and I think everything after that can be stricken. It's section 18 under, I believe, Article 3, organization.
So the manager shall have at least 1 year's experience, so everything after that language?
Yeah, there's some language about he must live in the city and provide a bond to count. I think all that's trumped by state law anyway, so.
So, and I know we were working on civil service, just changing the membership numbers. Is that one ready?
I can actually give you an update on that. Civil Service was actually looking for direction from City Council. They are prepared to go in different directions. If Council is looking for a charter revision, then Civil Service would forward such a recommendation to the Charter Revision Commission. However, if Council is deciding not to go forward with a charter revision anytime in the near future, then Civil Service is looking at anywhere from 3 to 5 amendments. They will not be ready in time for the November election. Most likely, we're looking at an August primary before those would be formalized and prepared. They haven't quite decided which ones they want to move on and when. It's been discussed, but no firm decisions have been made.
I thought that they were pretty firm in just changing the membership. Could you just check with Chairman Galen and see, because if they change the membership by 1 and the minimum number required for a meeting, that would just be one amendment. I know they want to change some other things, but I thought that that would take a little bit more time. But just that one thing related to membership would help them have successful meetings. We could do those both at the same special meeting.
We do have a civil service meeting scheduled on July the 1st, which is a Monday, where they would be voting on it. However, Council, obviously you have the right to put whatever charter amendment you wish on the ballot without having a recommendation from civil service. So if Council wishes to proceed in that manner, you have the ultimate ability to do so, to try and get it on the November ballot.
I think Randy Altimus, before he left, proposed 2 or 3 things, but one of them was just the membership numbers.
Okay.
I think they just wanted to increase it by 1 member so they could always have the required number at present.
I'll check with Ms. Galen. I may even see her in court tomorrow afternoon. What date and time did we want to schedule for the special meeting regarding the amendments to the charter related to the city manager?
Could we do Tuesday at 6?
Tuesday at 6 is fine with me.
I won't be able to make it.
The 26th?
25th.
25th?
I'm in favor. I know we discussed this before
Right.
about Mayor Pro Tem Kleinfeld's.
Tuesday, they're
suggestion.
doing Narcan instructions here. PACE has a meeting here.
Thought that was Thursday.
Tuesday, the 27th, I believe.
27th is Thursday, the 27th.
Definitely, I have an event that day, I'm not coming.
Okay.
I already know that.
The change will make it more flexible though, because we, you know, a department head we weren't able to consider, or a township supervisor and things like that, so I'm in favor.
All right, anything else?
I could also, I'd be happy to contact the AG's office tomorrow just to let the office know that the city plans on conducting a special meeting next week, Tuesday, and what the gist of the charter amendment will be, just so they're aware of it and they can look for it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Let's move into new business, and item A is the adoption of resolution number 1882. We have a motion, please.
Yes, Madam Mayor. If, and if I may, just for a moment, thank you to everyone for coming out and speaking. I'd like to, given that it's a pretty short resolution, I know not everyone has seen it and knows exactly what the language is. I'd like to read it and then make a motion. Resolution number 1882, LGBTQ Pride Month. Whereas the City of Eastpointe cherishes the value and dignity of each person and appreciates the importance of equality and freedom. And whereas all are welcome in the City of Eastpointe to live, work, play, and every family in any shape deserves a place to call home where they are safe, happy, and supported by friends and neighbors. And whereas the city denounces prejudice and unfair discrimination based on age, gender, identity, gender expression, race, color, religion, marital status, national origin, sexual orientation, or physical attributes as an affront to our fundamental principles. And whereas the city appreciates the cultural, civic, and economic contributions of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer community, which strengthen our social welfare. Whereas it is imperative that young people in our community, regardless of sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression, feel valued, safe, empowered, and supported by their peers and community leaders. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the members of this City Council declare the month of June 2019 as LGBTQ Pride Month in the City of Eastpointe and urge residents to recognize the contributions made by members of the LGBTQ community and to actively promote the principles of equality, liberty, and justice. And with that, I make a motion to approve resolution number 1882.
Support.
Any discussion?
Yes, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight and the whole community. And it was a lot on you to even express that openly you're bisexual. But whether you told me that or not, I was still seeing you the same. It don't matter to me whether you told the whole world that or not. I still see you the same. I hugged you at that event. If you would have told me before that, I still would have hugged you. So it doesn't matter, you know, if you like women or you like men, I still love you. God still loves you. And so when this was put on the agenda, I couldn't sleep for a couple days. It bothered me because I didn't know that we did not accept LGBTQ community, because as a family town, we always accept everybody. That's why it's called a family town. And I didn't know we had to make distinction on what that is. Just getting out the Department of Justice, to the Department of Justice, it seemed like they didn't want to accept African Americans. And it hurts me that I wish that this room was filled up when the Department of Justice allowed an African American as myself to be elected as the first African American sitting in a seat. So we have done something first. And so even in my election, people ask me, not a lot, are you going to be for the black people? Are you going to be for the white people or LGBT people? I said, I'm going to be for the human race. I'm going to be for people. It's not a selection of people by your skin complexion, what you decide to do at home. I'm for the people. And it doesn't have anything to do with what you do, how you look, because that's why the people elected me. That's what I believe. And I will be voting no on this. It doesn't change how I see you. It doesn't change my views of you. But I have to stand on something or I follow up for anything. So I stand for saying no to this. And I just want to make sure I said that. Thank you for everybody for coming out and expressing how you feel. But like I said before, you telling me what you did doesn't change how I look at you. It doesn't. Anybody in here, it doesn't change how I feel about you. You're still the same person to me. And it was kind of hard for me to come to this conclusion because I had to ask a friend of mine who has a lesbian daughter, what should I do? And she said, follow your heart. Not follow how the people look, what they do, follow your heart. And my heart loves people, everybody in here, no matter what religion, what you're doing. God loves people. And if I'm a lover of God, I have to love you according to who you are, not what you look like and what you do behind closed doors. And hopefully me saying no does not change how you look at me now. Because it doesn't change when you call yourself bisexual. It doesn't change how I look at you. So moving forward, I'm going to vote no.
So I would like to discuss this just a little bit. Many of you know me. You know that I've lived in multiple cities. I've lived in several cities where I had just moved into the city and I was in an LGBT community. And I cherish the people that I've met along the way. I really feel that I can look out in the audience right now and I can see white people, I can see black people. Some of you people have come forward and said that you were LGBT, and other than you coming forward, I would not have known it. And I will never treat you differently now that I know it. I feel that along the way, in the city of Eastpointe in the last 12 to 14 years that I've been on city council. And you don't have to film this because it's already on TV, Elise. Along the way, there have been a lot of dinners and so forth that have been LGBT dinners. The churches have had multiple dinners where I've recognized people, just like any of the ministers here, that they know that they're LGBT people. No one has ever been treated any differently. One of the things that you may not know about me as the mayor is that I can perform marriages. And ever since the marriage in the state, the marriage laws for the state of Michigan have been changed, any time that somebody has come forward and said they wanted someone to marry them, I would do it because I work for the city of Eastpointe. And my obligation as mayor is to treat everybody the same. I don't need any kind of a resolution to make me give respect to anybody over and above what I've always done. I just don't need it. I love to protect the people of all races. The black people, the Spanish American, we have a huge number of Asians. And I feel that you automatically support all these people. You don't need to have a resolution to tell you how to behave and how to be accepting of all people, no matter what their beliefs are. So for that reason, I'm going to abstain on this vote. But know all the LGBT people that are out there in the audience, I love you dearly. I have worked on campaigns with the Democratic Party with huge numbers of LGBT people. I have worked all over. I have been a nurse with one of the biggest AIDS epidemics ever in the state of Houston, city of Houston. I worked with the research meds that came up to treat AIDS and when it was in its infant space. I don't need somebody to tell me that I need to sign a piece of paper to be sure that I behave in an appropriate way. So please call the roll.
Councilmember Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Lucido.
Yes.
Owens.
No.
Pixley.
Abstain.
DeMonico.
Yes.
Move on to item B is the approval of the special event application for the Spirit of Christ Ministry, Family, and Friends.
Madam Mayor, I motion to approve the request from Spirit of Christ Ministry to conduct a Family and Friends Fun Day on Sunday, August 4th, 2019.
Support.
Move to support. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Lucido.
Yes.
Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Owens.
Yes.
Pixley.
Yes.
DeMonico.
It's amazing that
Yes.
all of you people are so interested in our city, but you can't stay for the meeting. Please call the,
We're done.
And I'm
Next
done.
item.
Let's move on to the approval of the citywide garage sale days.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to, in accordance with sections 32-81 and 32-85 of the Code of Ordinances, that the City Council designates Friday, August 16, 2019, and Saturday, August 17, 2019, as citywide garage sale days in the city of Eastpointe.
Do we have support? I have a little bit of concern about this because I think it's acting as a, not as a compliment, but I think it's as a conflict to the day that's going to be happening up at Rare, because a lot of our city residents go up to Rare for that big garage sale day.
Well, actually, I know my in-laws, they live in the UP, and they'll be down here that weekend. They are looking very forward. I think they'll hit them all in Roseville and Eastpointe, so I think it'll be a good compliment.
All right.
And Madam Mayor, we did coordinate this with Rare and Roseville as well, so
I know, but it's on the same day.
that
so
was
it's
the idea,
conflicting.
yes.
I think it would have been better on Cruise Day. All right. All right, and our next item is.
Would you
you're
like
done
me to
with the
call
vote.
the roll?
Oh, I thought you did.
Okay. Councilmember Kleinfeld.
Yes.
DeMonico.
Yes.
Lucido.
Yes.
Owens. Pixley.
Yes.
Okay.
Item D is the local officers' compensation commission determination.
I see no reason to take any action. I would suggest leaving the commission's recommendation stand.
Council is not required to take action by law, so if there are no motions, Mayor, you can move on to the next item.
So you're going to leave the salary as is?
I believe there.
Oh, it's already in place?
Yeah.
Okay.
The commission's recommendations would stand if council chooses not to reject.
Right. All right, so we have a resolution to take no action on that.
You don't even need a resolution, you just move on.
And then our next item is the authorization for Lexipol, which was discussed during the budget times.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to waive the bid requirements under Section 2548 of the Code of Ordinances and approve Solutions proposal as presented by Lexipol and authorize the city manager to execute all required documents.
Support.
Move with support. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Lucido.
Yes.
Owens. Pixley.
Yes.
DeMonico.
Yes.
Our next item is Smart Municipal and Community Credit Contract.
Madam Mayor, I motion that the Eastpointe City Council approves the municipal credit and community credit contract for fiscal year 2020 and authorizes the city manager to execute the document.
Support.
Move with support. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Lucido.
Yes.
Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Owens. Pixley.
Yes.
DeMonico.
Yes.
It's too bad your mother left before we covered this one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, item G is the agreement for the animal control services related to handling.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the agreement for Macomb County Animal Control Services with an expiration date of December 31st, 2019, and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement.
Support.
And just to be sure, this is just the pricing schedule we have approved actually. I mean, the numbers
No, 'cause
might be
Michael, you've
slightly
been
different,
working on
right?
this, and so has George, so,
I believe our agreement technically expired in January, and we've just been carrying on as if it were still enforceable.
But so yeah, this is essentially renewing that. Okay, just wanted to be.
I do believe, if I recall, there were some changes in some of the fees. I have a vague recollection. It's already been about 6 months since we've seen it. Our attorney had some concern about some of the wording, which the county addressed to our satisfaction. It just took them a while to sort of get back to us, so that was the reason for the long delay.
And they approved all the changes.
They approved all the changes.
all right, so where are we?
We are at a motion and a support.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Lucido.
Yes.
Owens. Pixley.
Yes.
DeMonico.
Yes.
Our next item is to approve the agreement with GovTemps USA.
And Madam Mayor, there was a small revision made to the document that was in the packet, and it was on council's desk. So that is the document you are being asked to vote on today, which is the one that appeared on your desk.
What was the difference?
The date went from July 16th to July 15th.
Oh, so that was emailed out then.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the only change. Now, I know Mr. Cotton expressed that he would like 1 week between when Joseph resigns and he takes over again. So I'm going to make a motion to appoint Ryan Cotton interim city manager effective July 8th and to waive bidding requirements and approve the employee leasing agreement as presented by GovTemps USA and authorize the city manager to execute all the required documents.
Support?
So July 8th instead of the 16th, is he going to take a vacation?
Essentially, it puts a week between Joseph leaving and him taking over, and he felt that would be smoother transition-wise.
What, Joseph's leaving the 8th, isn't he? The 6th is your last day?
Technically, the 5th is my last day. The 5th is my earliest commitment. But like I said, I was available till the 3rd of August, so. And
Start this 3 days later. You're not giving him the week that he requested?
No, giving him the week, it just appointing him interim in name,
Okay.
essentially.
And like I had indicated, I'm still going to be available, so if Mr. Cotton would like to have a couple days with me his first week or any point thereafter, I am available through August the 3rd.
All right. When is the new assistant city manager coming?
I'm hoping to get the official background confirmed tomorrow. If that's the case, I have to make a phone call and find out when that person would be available. I don't have that date. I wish I had it now. Unfortunately, I don't. I have to get the final background check, and that report is coming in tomorrow morning.
Okay.
But otherwise, everything, I'm going to call it 99.9%, looks good. We just have to find out when that individual will be starting.
All right. And you have an assistant finance director also coming in?
The offer's been made. They're in process of doing the background check.
Okay.
It's going to take a few weeks.
7 or 8 weeks on every single one of those backgrounds.
Backgrounds take a while.
We're looking at about 3 weeks now on backgrounds.
So where are we with this motion?
We have a motion and a support.
All right, please call the roll.
Councilmember Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Lucido.
Yes.
Owens. Pixley.
Yes.
DeMonico.
Yes.
Item I is renewal of a workers' comp third-party administration services. So, Mr. Blum, did you have anything to say about this?
The biggest thing I'd like to point out is that it does come in below what we had budgeted. We budgeted a total of $530,000 over various funds and departments, and the net cost is $478,000. Our experience factor is still hanging at 1.95. We've had a series of large claims over the last few years, and it is a 3-year window where they look at the claims. The expectation is next year that factor will start to drop, which is good because that's when our payroll starts to increase. So hopefully they offset each other. But
So when you say net, is that including the net premium or the dividend credit?
correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Madam Mayor, I'll motion then to approve the renewal of the Workers' Compensation Third-Party Administration Services to the Michigan Municipal League Workers' Compensation Fund at a net cost of $478,046 for the period of July 1, 2019 to June 30, 2020.
Support.
With support, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico.
Yes.
Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Owens. Pixley.
Yes.
Lucido.
Yes.
Item J is the update to the city's master water distribution and reliability study. Do you want to summarize this update?
If you remember back in January, I had made a presentation about all these studies that AEW had done in recent years, and I said, well, I really hadn't seen a recent one on the water one. Well, it turns out the most recent study on the water system was actually done back in 2008, 2009. And when the DEQ came and did their review, they made the same observation and realized that this needs to be updated every 5 years. So we requested AEW to give us an estimate quote for updating. They gave us one number. Mr. Abraham didn't like it, so they came back with a lower number. So we're happy to present this number to council for consideration. Obviously, a review by the company that did the original study is going to be much cheaper than bringing in a brand-new engineer to study the entire system again.
Okay. Do we have a motion, please?
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the proposal from AEW to update the city's master water distribution and reliability study for an amount not to exceed $14,000.
Support.
With support, please call the roll.
Councilmember Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Lucido.
Yes.
Owens.
Yes.
Pixley.
Yes.
DeMonico.
Yes.
Sarah, would you like to make the motion?
I would. Madam Mayor, I motion that the City of Eastpointe City Council awards the bid for the Roxana Park improvements to Michigan Recreational Construction Corporation in the amount of $137,144.
Support.
Move support, please call
So-
that roll.
Wait, I got a question. I want to do the 30 to 40 volunteers option. I think that would be a great PR moment for the city, and actually just between the City School Board Parks Commission and like Arts Commission, that's already like 30 people. I think it'd be pretty easy to do, and I think it'd be a very positive thing. Actually, I heard about one in, somewhere in Oakland County, and I saw
In
that
Hazel
in the
Park.
news.
In Hazel Park.
Hazel Park, yeah, so.
I've been on two of them in the city, and I can tell you, it's really difficult, and you have to go back behind people, and it's much, much easier
So
to not.
the difference in price wasn't that much with doing
Right.
it ourselves. And the other issue is we had a special meeting here at City Hall to go over these, and we had signups at that time posted for volunteers, and we had 0 volunteer sign up. So that was part of the reason why we decided, you know what, if we don't get enough volunteers, now we're prolonging this project. We were just kind of hoping to be able to move forward with it.
I know, but meetings are boring. Going out and putting something together is more interesting.
Remember the trees, remember the planting the trees the last time.
Yeah, we've had a good.
We had all the
people for those.
volunteers, and it ended up with just city council
For planting the trees.
on Kelly Road.
There was about three other volunteers there.
So nobody else wants to do. I think it would be awesome to do the community build. Nobody else wants to do
I mean, we
that.
got about 40 people in here and they want to sign
Yeah.
up. Or,
Everyone sign.
you know.
Everyone.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Lucido.
Yes.
Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Owens.
Yes.
Pixley.
Yes.
DeMonico.
Yes.
I'm sure if you wanted to round up some volunteers that know what they're doing, they can go out there and help the people.
All right. Let me know the install date.
Item L is a bid award for the 2019 Major Street Pavement Marking Program. Do we have a motion, please? First, I have a question. Why isn't Stevens being marked on the east side from Gratiot to Kelly?
I will have to come back to you with an answer to that question, Mayor. It isn't in the
not.
description over here.
No, it's just on the west side of Gratiot.
I would have to check to see if it was actually included in the bid package, but inadvertently excluded from the summary.
I would hope so.
I would hope so. If not, we could always do a change order if necessary.
All right, do we have a motion, please?
Madam Mayor, I motion to resolve that the Eastpointe City Council awards the bid for the 2019 Major Street Marking Program to JV Contracting in the amount not to exceed $152,582.50.
Support.
With support, please call the roll.
Councilmember Lucido.
Yes.
Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Owens.
Yes.
Pixley.
Yes.
And DeMonico.
Yes.
Item M relates to the storm sewer repair project.
And Madam Mayor, before council votes, we did have a typo on here. We did actually receive 4 bids for this one, not 1 as my cover letter indicated, but the lowest bidder was properly identified. However, our recommendation still stands to reject all bids.
And on what basis?
2 bases. Number 1, we only had $500,000 in the budget. And number 2, we realized that at this present time, most of these firms are busy. So if they can make some extra money, they're going to make it. They're not hungry for work. They will be if we put this out in January. We should get a more competitive bid process along with better numbers closer to our budgeted amounts.
Madam Mayor, I was wondering if council would be okay if we table this item. I feel like I want to do a little bit more research. And also, I was wondering if we could get a recommendation from AEW on this before we went ahead.
I agree.
Along with getting the other bids.
I agree with you, please. So would you like to make a motion to table this, please?
Madam Mayor, I motion to table the bids for storm sewer replacement project that were received on June 11th, 2019.
Support.
Move with support. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Lucido.
Yes.
DeMonico.
Yes.
Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Owens.
Yes.
Pixley.
Yes. Item N is the introduction and the first reading of ordinance 1170, which is an ordinance to amend section 42 to 26 of the Code of Ordinances regarding cross connections.
Madam Mayor, this is another ordinance that was recommended by the DEQ during their most recent inspection. This is an ordinance to help regulate areas where potable water service pipes come in contact with pipes that do not carry potable water, and how that is to be regulated and inspected.
Madam Mayor, I'll give first reading, or introduce and give first reading to ordinance number 1170 to amend section 46-26 of the Code of Ordinances regarding cross-connection, and orders that the ordinance will be placed on the July 2nd agenda under old business for consideration.
Support.
Move and support. Mr. Sabota, I had a couple questions related to the ordinance.
Yes.
Down on section E, device testing,
Mm-hmm.
where it says only individuals who possess an ASSE
5110
Right.
certification.
Do we have anybody that has that?
There are people within the state of Michigan that do have that certification. This language was actually written by the DEQ.
Right. So at that time, when we'd have to do all that testing, do we have to hire somebody from the state of Michigan?
Not necessarily from the state of Michigan, but most likely a firm or a third party. I will check to see if this is certification that some of our city employees could potentially receive, if that is where you're going with this.
That's what my thought was.
Okay.
And the other one where it says only individuals who possess certification of the Michigan Journeyman's Plumbing License or a state of Michigan plumbing license. So I think we should have access to the people that do have those certifications.
Actually, in this case, these repairs refer to the actual physical locations where these connections are made, and the state of Michigan is saying you have to be either a journeyman plumber or a master plumber.
Right.
In other words, this is not a city employee making this fix. This is a third party.
Right,
And this is something that we do not want to be involved with because this will be done on private property.
okay. All right. So we have a motion.
We do have a motion. We do have support.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico.
Yes.
Lucido.
Yes.
Owens.
Yes.
Pixley.
Yes. Item O is the introduction and first reading of ordinance 1171, which is to amend section 4020 of the Code of Ordinances regarding membership of the Board of Review. Would you like to address this or talk a little bit about this, please?
Yes, we actually have an ordinance that requires the city have a board of review of, I believe it's 6 members, and we have not had a board of review for 6 members for several years. Our assessor indicates that we don't need one because we don't have the backlog of requests or petitions before the Board of Review. So I'm a person who likes to ensure that we follow our own laws. So both the assessor and I agree that it's proper that the city council should consider amending the code of ordinances to accurately reflect what we do have. Another reason for this is, even if we had to find 6 people, we can barely find the 3 that we have in the alternates. So trying to find additional people is very difficult. I will say that this year was the first year that we did send our Board of Review to training. So those members who are serving have been appropriately trained as well, and they will continue that in the future.
So we're going from 2 boards of 3 to
One board of three.
Still keeping 2 alternates, right?
Correct. And which is what we've been operating under, in fact, for the past several years.
So are we going to have a motion then?
Sure, Madam Mayor, I'll motion the city council introduce an ordinance to amend section 40-20 of the Code of Ordinances regarding membership on the Board of Review, and order this ordinance appear under old business for consideration at the meeting on July 2, 2019.
Support.
Move with support. Please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico.
Yes.
Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Owens.
Yes.
Pixley.
Yes.
Lucido.
Yes.
Item P is the introduction and the first reading of ordinance number 1172 related to the fee schedule amendments for the public safety services.
Madam Mayor, I motion to resolve that the city council introduce an ordinance to amend section 2-525 of the Code of Ordinances regarding fee schedules and orders that this ordinance shall appear under old business for consideration at the meeting on July 2nd, 2019.
Support.
I just wanted to speak on this if I can, Madam Mayor.
Did you want to speak on this?
Yes, ma'am. I want to talk to the director about the fee scheduling, because I see that the first, a false alarm is no fee. The second one was no fee, but now you want to charge people $25, and the third offense is $25, and then charge a person $50. Regarding the neighborhood watch, that last guy said he had a lot of complaints. I know a lot of you guys remember him. He said he would call the police several times based upon the person who lived next door to him, and they would show up and they would not see anything. I don't think if a person is in fear that we should charge them if they call first, second, and third. Now, the fourth time, maybe, but I don't think we should charge somebody if they call the police and they're in fear of something.
Well, typically, we charge when we receive an alarm, and sometimes we go to houses 3, 4, 5 times. It's taking two patrol officers off the street, the time they get the dispatch call, the time they get to the house. Most of the time, if somebody's not home, they have to check all the doors, check all the windows. So the end result is about 30 minutes, you're losing 2 patrol people from the road. These fees are consistent with our neighbors, and I believe they're fair. And obviously, if there's certain people that cannot afford it, we work with them. We're not looking to make money, we're just looking to be fair and consistent
Can I clarify?
and reasonable. Yes.
This is for home security system alarms, not for calls, correct?
These are residential
So
and
it's not like if
business
someone
alarms.
suspects, like, see the suspicious vehicle and you guys come out. This is for
Correct.
home security alarms
Absolutely.
falsely going off, correct?
For businesses and residents.
Oh, they just for the alarms going off or people calling and it's a
These are
false
the
alarm.
burglar alarm companies.
Someone's calling us, we're not going to charge them. But if
Okay.
we have to go to your house 3 or 4 times, or a business 3 or 4 times, because sometimes people just don't want to contact the alarm company and correct the matter, so we have to do something. I mean, our police officers are out of service for a good half hour. And
Okay.
again, there's two officers that are dispatched to every alarm.
Okay, because false alarms can be an alarm in your house, or a false alarm can be somebody calling. It
Right.
wasn't
No,
described on here, so.
Yeah, no, I
it can be-
understand.
I don't want us to charge our residents because
No.
they see something wrong and.
No, absolutely
They
not.
call 2 or 3 times, okay.
Correct.
We have a motion and a support.
Right, please call the roll.
Councilmember Lucido.
Yes.
Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Owens.
Yes.
Pixley.
Yes.
DeMonico.
Yes.
Item Q is the introduction and the first reading of ordinance 1173 related to the rezoning of property located at 15301 Mile. And I believe this is based on the planning commission meeting.
Right, and Madam Mayor, I want to call council's attention to the the page after the cover memorandum from Director Van Haren, where it says Planning Commission, June 6, 2019. If you look at the bottom of that page, that last paragraph, that is a summary of the public comments that were made at the meeting, at the public hearing. So you had public comments summarized at the Plan Commission public hearing in the official packet, and the residents who were speaking at council meeting today were referencing this particular question pending before council as well.
Madam Mayor, if I can address maybe some of the concerns
Please.
that were brought up earlier. So they are looking for a rezoning into, having it zoned into a B1, which is still a more limited district. It's not like a B3 where, you know, there's a lot of different options that can move in there. So it couldn't become like a party store or anything like that. So they're looking for a B1 zoning. Some of the concerns were hours, and obviously we can't regulate the hours. There were some concerns mentioned about parking. Parking, we do plan, you know, there is an ordinance for parking, so if they're gonna have too many seats and not enough spots, they're not gonna be allowed to get their business license in the city. That's gonna be one of the issues. So parking, if their building doesn't have enough spots to accommodate what they wanna provide, they're never gonna get their business license anyway. So that really shouldn't be a concern for the residents. Another thing is that they talked about having like special events and things like that. Unless a special event is contained indoors, if it's anything outside, they would have to come through the city and apply for a special event license. So the recommendation from our planners was to approve the rezoning, also the recommendation of our planning commission was to move ahead with the rezoning, so.
I watched the meeting and I was really, I was very pleased because I thought the questioning that went on with the people on the planning commission was very thorough. And I thought that it was very direct and they felt real comfortable for the planning commission to come out with a majority and no opposing votes. I think it's a good support for their decision.
The folks in the audience, did you have our information from our planner? It's in the agenda packet for this meeting, but I don't know if, okay. All right, we'll, can you give Mrs. Lentz then your information? We could email you. If you have emails, we could email it to you. So
And I
if
think
you're
related
interested.
to parking, it was related to the number of chairs that she
Yes,
was gonna have.
so yeah, it's gonna
they could
depend on
have
how many
3, but
chairs
not
she
4.
has.
Right.
And, you know, our building department would go out there and check this parking spot.
And if I may, to the mayor and council, the question about parking and number of chairs isn't going to be resolved through a rezoning question. That's going to be resolved during the site plan review submittal. So that is going to be more of an administrative function. I'm not sure if it will actually have to come before planning or not, because I'm not sure to what depth this proposal is going to be. But definitely, we do have parking regulations, and if the site plan and the building plans that are submitted do not conform to the zoning ordinance, then the developer has 2 options essentially. Number 1, revise the plans, or number 2, demonstrate some sort of practical difficulty that they did not cause and make an appeal to the Zoning Board of Appeals. So that's where council's options are with that. The other thing I think might be a good idea if council and the planning commission actually would consider is a process called conditional rezoning. That's where you essentially have a rezoning agreement with the developer where you can add on some additional items or grant slight variances, if you will, in terms of a development. I don't believe we have conditional zoning in our zoning ordinance here in Eastpointe, and it's something that's relatively new and I think successful. So that's something you may want to toss to the Planning Commission to consider and look at, or maybe get a better explanation from the city planner while they're here during their office hours over the next 6 months.
And one more thing too, the rezoning also does kind of like align with our master plan that we just, you know, adopted, so.
And that is a requirement for any potential rezoning, is that it should comply with the master plan. If it doesn't, then theoretically, you should not be approving any rezoning requests, or the Planning Commission should not be making a recommendation.
Okay.
Well, we do not have,
And we need a motion.
we do not have a motion on this
We
at
need
this
a
time.
motion.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to introduce and give first reading to ordinance number 1173, which would rezone property located at 15301 8 Mile Road, parcel number 02-14-31-356-002 from OS1 Office Services District to B1 General Business District, and schedule it for a second reading on City Council's July 2nd regular meeting.
Support.
Move and support. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Lucido.
Yes.
Owens. Pixley.
Yes.
And DeMonico.
Yes.
Our next item is the approval of the budget amendment BA 1905. This was at the request of Finance Director Mr. Blum. Did you want to explain it? or-
Yes. The budget amendment just covers certain activities that have happened throughout the year and gets us in line for year end. I would like to point out that there is a summary of budget amendment that is in a format consistent with how the ordinance is actually adopted. And then that is followed up with the line item information. What I'd like to point out in the general fund is we have had certain revenue items that have come in strong this year. So we have an increase in the revenues. We've had a minor shuffling of some expenses, but the net result of all this is that we are reducing the use of fund balance by over $900,000 with this amendment. I think it will actually come in stronger than that when it's all said and done, but this is the amendment that's being proposed. The other thing I'd like to highlight is on local streets. Similar to what we've talked about with the non-union and court increases that are not in the current budget, we'll do amendment later. The Johnston reconstruction and the extra CDBG money came in after we had already done the budget last year. And this is just the amendment to reflect the city portion of that reconstruction that had not been in the previous budget. It is offset by some additional state revenues that came in. And even though it's an increase of $225,000 net, excuse me, the original budget had an increase in the local streets of $622,000, and even with this change, we will be increasing almost $400,000. So the local streets are in good shape there. The capital improvements, there's just more sidewalk activity going on, so there's an increase in revenue, increase in expense, nothing major there. The equipment replacement is being closed out at the end of this fiscal year, as well as the Building Authority Construction Fund. Those revenues, or the leftover money, I should say, is being moved into general fund, but it will be designated for capital projects, also with part of the year-end activity. And then the final two, there's a minor adjustment on the pension to use up the final bit of money that was left over in that particular fund that we had reserved for a lawsuit. And same thing with the OPEB, there's a $45,000 adjustment that kind of cleans things up on that one. And that's it. It's really pretty simple and basic. But I'd really wanted to highlight the reduction in use of general, or fund balance in the general fund.
Great.
Excuse me.
I know on the sidewalks, a lot of the residents, even myself, of course, being a resident, with the sidewalk special assessment and the money that we get, is there any way that council can find a way to help assist some of the residents with payment of that? I know a lot of cities pay 25% of it, 10%. Everybody is not in the same, payment bracket of what they get in their household income. So assisting with that payment would probably help a lot of residents pay for the sidewalk.
On sidewalk assessments, they can break up their payment, can they not? As long as the total is paid by a certain date?
Yeah, if it's over a certain amount of square footage, it can be broken into two payments. I don't recall off the top of my head what the square footage is.
Well, broken down into payments still doesn't cover what I said about helping them assist in paying for some of that.
Council could look at some sort of program like that. I do know some communities on a special assessment, they will basically treat it as a loan, an interest-bearing loan, and they'll allow, pay it over a certain number of years, but there is an interest rate tied to it. We've never gotten into that, especially with sidewalks, because the amounts are generally fairly small. Those are usually tied to a sewer or a road construction or something like that.
Have you had very many requests?
No.
Okay.
Well, I have been, a lot of residents probably come to me. Obviously, the last resident came to Randy, and that didn't go so well. But, I think helping people, not loaning people money and then having interest on it, I feel like we should. I think we have enough funding where we can help people with a certain amount. We do it with the taxes, where people make a certain amount of money that they don't have to pay the whole amount of taxes.
That's based on state law, though.
Okay.
The state law allows poverty exemption, there's a veterans exemption, but those are state law. We, the city, are not allowed to spend taxpayer money on private residents' expenses.
Well, as a city, can we check in on other communities where they do help residents with the payment of the sidewalks?
You'd have to point some out, because I'm not aware of any.
You're not aware of any? Okay.
I know Macomb County has some assistance for building improvements. I don't know that it would apply for sidewalks.
I don't think it applies to the house.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, is more
It's for the
home improvements, but.
Yeah. That's federal assistance.
That's federal, yes.
Maybe this is something that we can have the city manager and the finance director do a little bit more research on for next year's budget, because that way then we could budget those funds if we were gonna go ahead with it. And you know what I'm saying, at that time.
I have the research. I can drop it off tomorrow.
I don't know whether we could ever go ahead and give it, because it would be against federal law as well as state law, but I think that maybe if you did anything, you could schedule some type of a payment system. But,
Right,
because
that's something we
do that with the RAP program, so might be able to do something. But that's a special program, so,
Well, it's also not our money.
yeah.
It's coming
right.
from Great Lakes Water Authority.
Right.
So we're not spending taxpayer money.
I'll motion to approve the budget amendment BA 1905 as presented by the finance director.
Support.
Move and support it, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico.
Yes.
Lucido.
Yes.
Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Owens. Pixley.
Yes. Our next item is adoption of resolution number 18, just the approval of the new purchasing credit card policy.
Madam
We have a
Mayor, I
motion.
motion that the Eastpointe City Council adopts the City of Eastpointe purchasing credit card policy as presented and repeals resolution number 1606.
Do we have support?
Support. Now, I did have one question on this. I think the new one, I think references the personnel director as being responsible for retrieving an assigned credit card. Is that correct?
The city manager is the personnel director, yes. And actually, it's the old policy and the old administrative order. We just sort of put it all into one document so that council approves it. But we can make any changes that council wishes.
I was just wondering if it'd be more efficient to have the finance department keep a tab on the credit card issue, but whatever administration thinks works easiest.
I can see personnel because when you have a change in, or departure or an add-on, that's part of the onboarding or the offboarding process. So it's all being handled through one office.
Okay.
Mr. Sabota, how did it factor in? We did actually, for like our timeline here, we did actually, February 3, 2015, ratified the use of procurement cards.
Yes, but there were no restrictions that were placed. And state law wants council to set the restrictions, not the city manager, which was done. So that's why this is being properly presented to you. And as long as we have it done by June 30th, the auditors happen to catch it, we're in good shape.
So then essentially and the difference between procurement cards and credit cards was just essentially we're paying the monthly balance every month is what a procurement card requires. Credit card, you can build up a
But I
balance
think
if
we've
you
always
want and
paid,
pay.
we've always paid the credit card total.
I would hope, yeah, that's what that's what I was assuming we're doing anyway. So then if we do have a procurement type card, it prevents you from,
Actually, the real difference between the two cards is you can have stricter limitations on a purchasing card than you can have on a credit card. On a credit card, you can give your credit card to your wife and she can spend it on whatever she wants. Where if you give her a purchasing card, you have limits as to what she can actually spend it on. So it's the same concept, if you will.
okay.
With the city, we can give a credit card to an employee and they can go ahead and spend up to whatever that credit limit is on anything. But with a purchasing card, we actually have the ability to technologically put in restrictions and even put a lower dollar threshold.
Okay.
Any further questions? Well, let's do a motion, please,
We do have a motion and a support.
and let's call the roll.
Councilmember Lucido.
Yes.
Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Owens. Pixley.
Yes.
And DeMonico.
Yes.
Item T is the adoption of Resolution 1883 related to investment and portfolio policy.
Madam Mayor, I motion to adopt resolution number 1883, which updates the City of Eastpointe investment and portfolio policy.
Support.
Move to support. I just had one comment. I'd like to have council informed on a quarterly basis at a minimum.
That should be added to the resolution then, properly.
I'll amend my motion to add quarterly reports to City Council and the mayor.
I would recommend 20 days after quarter end.
Correct.
Sure. 20.
Just quarterly.
As long as you're not
whatever they-
including MERS in that, because I get those about 45 days after quarter end.
And actually, MERS isn't,
It's not part of this policy,
Right.
but as far as investment results, if you want a total picture, MERS quarterly comes out about 45 days after. So just,
Just a quarterly report.
yeah, if we leave it as quarterly report with no time frame.
Right.
Fine with me.
And just for clarification, I think under reporting, all that would need to be changed is at least an annual to quarterly. I
Right.
think that,
Just one word.
and once again, to make it clear, this is only on money that we can directly control, not any money at MERS.
Right. Because we used to get those reports all the time, so.
Yep. I've got a few sitting there I need to get to you guys.
As soon as you get that extra person. All right, please call the roll.
Councilmember Lucido.
Yes.
Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Owens. Pixley.
Yes.
And DeMonico.
Yes.
And the next item is the adoption of Resolution 1884, which relates to the general fund's committed fund balance.
And for clarification for council and for the public, there's two ways that fund balance can be designated, using old terminology. Commitment is something that council is required to do, and an assignment is discretion that you've given to the finance director to do. So we may find something along the way before June 30th where it wasn't committed by council, but the finance director believes it may need to be assigned. So there are two different levels of fund balance. The most restrictive is the committed. Finance director does have the ability to do some assignments, and I think we may have found one, correct, after the fact, potentially?
Oh, yes.
I don't remember what it was, but I remember one, so.
All right, can we have a motion, please?
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 1884, identifying categories and amounts to the general fund's committed fund balance.
Support?
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Kleinfeld.
Yes.
DeMonico.
Yes.
Lucido.
Yes.
Owens. And Pixley.
Yes. Our next item is the removal of the Parks Commissioner.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to follow the recommendation from the Parks Commission and remove Mr. Randona Johnson from the Parks Commission effective immediately.
Support.
With support, please call the roll.
Councilmember Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Lucido.
Yes.
Owens. Pixley.
Yes.
And DeMonico.
Yes.
Our next item is the medical marijuana ordinance.
Madam Mayor, I think we might have a good chunk of time left in the meeting. Could we possibly break for about 5 minutes? I suspect this item might take some time, so. No? Okay. If everyone wants,
Yeah, I think you need to keep going. It's
So-
10 o'clock.
I requested to have this put on the agenda. I don't know, madam, do you want to introduce it first? Because I'm like all.
Well, I did. It's
Oh,
just medical
okay.
marijuana ordinance.
All right, so I requested to have this put on the agenda because this was originally supposed to come back to us in April. We did give the planning commission a few extra months because I know they had been working diligently on coming up with some recommendations for us. We did have what I thought was a successful joint meeting at the beginning of this month, or last month, ended last month. And I think that we have a good starting point for our city attorney to start writing an ordinance.
I agree that I'd like to see a draft put together based on the consensus that council and the planning commission came to at our joint meeting. I do also want to suggest asking administration to try to schedule some sort of informational session with someone from either LARA or MML. And what I'm envisioning is not something that's necessarily a deliberating body of us or planning commission, but actually someone who just comes in and does like an informational workshop where they take questions possibly on note cards and just educate the community who comes out on what our options are, what the laws are, and sort of a neutral source of information.
Well, I think that's what we asked for a while back, and we did ask for it from the planning commission. And another person was brought in that talked about security and blah, blah, blah. But MML has a webinar next week, and I asked Mr. Sabota to set it up, to request it for all of us. And the person that's speaking is the director of, it's no longer Lara, I believe.
It's Eagle.
It's now Eagle. So they're going to be speaking, and I would ask as many planning commission representatives to be there as well as city council. And there is a way that we can record it so that all of council can do it because it's at a time when council is not there. And then I think that would give us a better idea of where to proceed with this.
Well, and I think that, I like Mr. Kleinfeld's recommendation, because I think that it would be nice to have the residents have an opportunity to get their questions answered by someone that is not directly.
Well, that's what, I mean, MML is providing the webinar, and the person that's doing it is the director over the medical marijuana.
But would
up
our
in Lansing.
residents have an opportunity to see the webinar?
Oh, yeah, we can set it up right here, and you can do a recording and put it on the screen. And if not, we can have MML or bring that same person down here, but he's pretty busy up in Lansing, so I think the most direct questions and everything that we can get during the webinar is smart. I just don't like the idea that it's at 10 o'clock in the morning and not everybody is available at, wasn't that the time, was that 10 o'clock?
It was at 10, but the fortunate thing is this is a webinar, so even if you can't be here, we just pay $25 and you view it wherever you're going to be.
But our regular residents would not be able to pick up on everything that's being discussed, which is why I'm asking if maybe MML might be able to record it and give us the recording so that we could play it at a council meeting.
I know we can do an audio recording here.
They do a video recording.
Okay.
Because when they do their Monday morning meetings.
Oh, yes.
Those are webinars, but they're also recorded and you can get them. So I think you just need to call MML and talk to maybe Matt Bach, who is their their PR chair, and ask him if there was a way that we could do that so we can get the word directly from the boss up in Lansing. That's being provided through MML. MML is not talking on it at all. MML is providing the expert on it. So I'd like to have that and make it available to all the residents, as well as planning and council and anyone else who'd like to be
We
there.
have had a couple of planning commissioners already sign up for this, so they will, I'm assuming they will be present. I'm willing to do whatever council wants to do with this. The seminar webinar is available. We'll have one here in City Hall. If you need to watch it someplace else, we'll pay the $25, and you can watch it wherever you need to watch it. We will attempt to record it here ourselves. And I will also contact the MML to see if we can somehow get a recording of this transmitted to us. I'm willing to do whatever you're looking for.
That's next week, on the 26th.
It is Wednesday, correct.
Right.
I'm happy with making that information available. I still would like to just explore getting a neutral expert of some sort to actually do a live presentation, not necessarily next week, but if we can find someone that can make themselves available to come and answer questions, just to really inform residents and answer their questions on the things that they don't understand.
Jeff, can you wait, or is it something pertinent?
I just looked at the email I received on that. That webinar is on recreational marijuana, not medical.
Oh.
Shoot. Is the, Citizens Planner, MSU, is that the one on medical?
No.
Or that one's on recreational also?
I thought it was on medical because they were talking about the latest restrictions.
So,
I think it's, I thought I read it was on recreational also.
so personally, when we were done with our joint meeting on May 28th, I thought we had discussed everything we needed to go forward with an ordinance at that point. I mean, we can continue to, of course, learn things, but we've been discussing this since December 2017, by far longer than anything on this entire agenda. I think we could go forward, Councilwoman Lucido, with your recommended motion here.
So you're going to overrule the planning commission, which asked to table it until December?
Well, I understand that we are overruling them on their last recommendation, but our original recommendation was only to have it back on our table in April anyway. So we're just putting it back on our agenda like we originally requested in our motion when we asked them to write an ordinance in February.
The joint city council planning commission meeting was on May 28th.
I believe it was February is when we originally asked, we made a recommendation at the city council table asking to have planning commission write an ordinance for medical marijuana and then it to be returned to our agenda in April. So, Madam Mayor, I motion to direct the city attorney to draft a medical marijuana ordinance, which includes the recommendations made at the May 28th, 2019 Joint City Council Planning Commission meeting.
Support.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Owens?
No.
Pixley?
I will not go against the planning commission recommendation. I'm sorry. No.
DeMonico?
Yes.
Madam Mayor, just for a point of clarification, when is the council looking to have that for review? I would like an opportunity to meet with the city planner for a draft to bring in front of the council. Is the second meeting in July, would that be enough time?
Does it have to go to planning still?
Well, the process that would have to be followed is once there is an ordinance that is approved by the majority on council, there still has to be a public hearing conducted at the planning commission level. That's in conjunction with the city's charter, along with the Zoning Enabling Act, which is set forth by the state of Michigan. At that planning commission meeting where the public hearing is held, and the planning commission then could make a recommendation to approve that ordinance, recommend approval to the city council, or not recommend approval. It would then still come back to the city council for then consideration. But state law does require that public hearing take place at the planning commission level. Now, if the planning commission decides not to recommend approval, that's within the planning commission's province, but it would still then come out of the planning commission and come back before council.
He gave us this today.
Yes, so I guess I was hoping that planning commission would have been involved in doing this ordinance. So if planning commission is willing to have another joint meeting with us to go over the ordinance once you compose it, that's the way I would like to move ahead with it. So if you could maybe propose that to the planning commission at their first meeting, but yes, at the second meeting in July, I think would be fine.
But it's still, does it still not require a public hearing?
Well, no, but I think to originally review the ordinance at Rich writes, because we don't have, we might want to change stuff before we have a public hearing on it.
The council doesn't have an actual ordinance before it right now in order to set down to the planning commission for a public hearing. So city administration, myself and the city planner need to put a draft ordinance in effect for the council to look at, approve, and then it would go to the planning commission for a public hearing.
And that's why I'd like to have the planning commission involved in that conversation, because I do value their point of views and their recommendations, and that's why I wanted all of their recommendations from our joint meeting placed in the ordinance.
So when you're saying administration, who are you talking about? Are you talking about the city manager, the police, the director of public safety?
I was just speaking collectively as the city attorney's office and city planner. If the direction of council is to also get input from any other members of administration, that's the city council's prerogative. But I was just speaking collectively as a city attorney and the city planner. I know that Ms. Haw has been involved in a considerable way with regard to input on the various ordinance language.
Well, and we did have two ordinances that council was receptive to previously.
I prepared two draft ordinances that had different terms in it, different language. And so both the city council has had an opportunity to review those and the planning commission has had an opportunity to, and that's how the planning commission and I believe the city council were acting from those two proposals and moving ahead to come up with one.
And planning was coming up on zoning and types of facilities and so forth.
Yes, Ms. Haw's been involved with that. Yeah, so far, there's been a consensus as to how many dispensaries would be permitted in the city, how many transportation facilities, how many testing facilities. There's also consensus not to allow any grow operations. And so the discussion as to setback requirements from residential areas, daycare facilities, schools, that has also been agreed upon. That was discussed and agreed upon at the joint meeting.
Was that a consensus of all of planning commission? Wasn't it 4-3?
At the joint meeting?
Right.
I don't recall the voting breakdown.
What a mess.
I don't think we took actual votes, but I only recall two of the planning commission members being
Well, it's
against
in
really
the-
anything we discussed.
It's in the minutes that you approved earlier tonight, what it was, so.
Check there.
At this point, I think in putting together a draft, it should just be what the direction was at the joint meeting, and then we can see what that looks like.
Okay.
At what point will you have a public hearing?
I think we need a draft before we'd be ready to schedule anything. I think that's down the line.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we're a few months out before our public hearing, probably.
I think that the earliest that could take place would be at the August's planning commission meeting. That would be the absolute earliest that could take place. If the council approves the language for an ordinance moving forward at the second meeting in July, then it would be set for, it would go to, well, Mr. Sabota, though, I don't know if that's enough time for getting out the publication for a public hearing, though, so.
We should, second meeting in July is the 15th. Planning Commission meets the second Thursday of the month.
First Thursday.
First Thursday. We've got 16 days in July, and if the first Thursday is even on the 1st, we should theoretically have enough time, assuming we make the newspaper deadlines. I don't know what the first Thursday is in July, in August.
So it's possible that the first meeting for the planning commission meeting in August would work.
I think it'll probably be more likely September. Just because I think we're going to have changes we're going to want to make to it. I mean, that's why I say probably September.
I'll have a draft for the council's consideration, second meeting in July.
I can actually give you an answer as to when that's going to be. I've got a calendar someplace.
I think it's the 16th.
Actually, the first Thursday in August is August the 1st. So, I don't know when the newspaper deadline would be. I mean, we're really cutting it close.
I'm not worried about
Yeah.
trying to cram it in.
I don't think there's any, none of us are in that much of a rush.
All right, thank you.
All right, let's move on to payroll and bills.
Actually,
Wait, we
X.
got one more. X.
Y and Z? No. I'll motion that we appoint Mr. Sabota to the Samorsa Board.
Support?
We didn't add it to the agenda.
Yes, we did. We have a motion from.
Oh, in the revised?
Yes, we did.
We did under approval of the budget, or approval of the agenda, we added it.
So we have a motion, we have a support, Mayor.
All right. Please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico.
Yes.
Lucido.
Yes.
Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Owens.
Yes.
And Pixley.
Yes. All right, let's move on to payroll and bills.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve payment of the bills in the amount of $1,904,686.65.
Support?
Move to support. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Lucido.
Yes.
Owens.
Yes.
Pixley.
Yes.
And DeMonico.
Yes.
Let's move on to the second hearing of the public. Mr. Lubeck.
Jeffrey Lubeck, Eastpointe resident, member of the Planning Commission. Okay, I'd like to build on my analogy of President Kennedy wanting us to get us to the moon and back. What we discussed at that May joint meeting was we're going to take the man, we're going to put him on the moon, and we're going to get him back from the moon. All right, we're done. That's the approach you're taking. You don't understand what we've been fighting with in terms of the details of what it's going to take to write this ordinance to fit this community. We were given 2 sample ordinances. It would be great if we were Harrison Township and could rubber stamp it, but Eastpointe is not Harrison Township. We're trying to get something that fits this community. And we're trying to hit a loosely defined target that keeps moving. I'm very disappointed. You don't understand the amount of hours and work we've put in, and you seem to think we should just be able to do it overnight. And councilman, if you've been talking about this since 2017, I'd like to see the minutes of it because it hasn't been happening in public. And you know my attendance record at these meetings.
Anyone else wish to be heard? Mr. Pren.
Alrighty, again, Marty Pren, 23091 Lambrick. I wanted to see if the City Council would consider putting together a resolution declaring June 15th as International Elder and Guardianship Abuse Awareness Day. It's always on June 15th. The other issue that I have is related to the issue that I've been bringing up with a retaliation eviction that I'm involved with. There was a court hearing on Thursday, and I'm just wanting to express my disappointment in how Judge Gertz had ruled, in the fact that he didn't seem to understand that I have rights under a retaliation eviction, and that includes requesting a jury demand. I was denied that. The testimony was not put under oath, and so I'm having to resort to filing an emergency appeal with the circuit court. I just got the transcript from the hearing today, and I'm being told that I have to be out by the 23rd. I had notified the public safety director that there is criminal activity going on at the house in the form of prostitution, in the form of drug use and distribution. One of the people there has had 3 priors of either possession of a controlled substance and 1 of distribution. So I'm wanting to make sure that the City Council is aware of what's going on there, and that you do have an ordinance that when there is criminal activity, that a person that is a tenant or renting from that property needs to be evicted. There is a letter that was sent by Deborah Schulte to Dennis McBride, who is the owner, and it says, our records indicate that you have not registered to a previous notice that was sent to you regarding the above referenced property. The city requires all rental properties to be registered and inspected. Please begin the registration process by submitting an application and paying the required fee. Once the fee has been, the application and the fees have been obtained, a inspection can be scheduled. This guy seems to think that because of getting me evicted that the process ends and he doesn't have a requirement to register the property. Under the city ordinance, a unregistered property is subject to a $250 fine and is still subject to having to fill out an application to have the property registered and pay the application fee, and then schedule the inspection and have the property inspected so that it is up to code. I don't want to have to do having to file an appeal, but my civil rights have been violated.
You have 30 seconds.
Thank you, ma'am. My civil rights have been violated in this process, and the judge seems to think that because it's a month-to-month lease that I have no rights, and that is not the case. But thank you very much, and have a good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Pren. Anyone else wish to be heard?
My name is Christine Tillman. I'm new to this town, but you will see me every first and third Tuesday. Now listen, one of the things I learned tonight is that someone sitting up there is in a dual position of having two executive jobs for one municipality. Can't do that. I'm afraid that this entire meeting may be illegal. I'm not sure. I have to go and look it up. And I'd like to say thank you to the two women who had the courage to say no to this new ordinance about LBG2. And it's the way they said it. They said it with such respect that we don't want to point you out as some different queer thing every month. Because when I lived in Lansing for 15 or 20 years, you know, that's what we would do. We would go to the LGBT, to the parades to see how silly they were going to be looking. And we'd be taking films and everything, because some of them would just be actually crazy acting. And so I'm glad you respected them by saying, you're just like us. We don't need to tell everybody every time you look around who you are and all this every once a month. And I say the same thing about Black History Month. I always said this. My Constitution tells you, you cannot point out any one person. Article 4, Section 2 says each citizen is entitled to everything as everyone else. Amendment 14 say everybody get due process and equal protection, so you don't need all this stuff. You just do what the Constitution says do, and we'll all get along. Because when you say Black History Month, it should be Black History Day every day. Your car that you put that key in. Who do you think had the first car factories? It was the Black engineers. Tom Edison, Graham Bell. Where do you think they got the wires? They got it from Granville T. Wood and other Black engineers. So what are you talking about? Black History Month is every day. We're all the same. We have to work together or it's not going to work. And so I will warn you that the people who are in opposition to this 1 month for a certain group of people, if you don't give them a month, they can walk right into U.S. District Court, file a Form JS-44. You don't need an attorney. I've done it repeatedly. And they can win a right to have a day. I would call it the Straight Family.
30 seconds.
Thank you, ma'am. I would call it the Straight Family and Children's Day. Just like you got a LGBTQ Day, you should have a day for all the beautiful families of Eastpointe. I've only been here 2 years, and I tell you, it's the best best place I can say so far that I've lived. If things don't, I think it's gonna get worse because of what you're doing now today, but, and not honoring everyone. But this is a beautiful city, and I'd like to see the
And
families
your time is up.
parading with their children. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to be heard? Mr. Creech?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Harvey Creek resident, East Detroit. Looking at this, as I say, right here on B, you've got the removal of a Parks Commissioner. The question I ask, is he going to be replaced? They were talking about cutting the commission down and just, eliminating it. As I said before, too, I look at this as the Parks Commission itself. I'm looking at the same thing about the medical marijuana ordinance. The commission was there, and they said no. And yet, pray tell me, the council said yes. Anymore, you had the commissions. I'm not going to say you always have to agree with them anymore, but now we're fighting each other. This is getting crazier by the day. Instead of us agreeing, now we're fighting between us. I don't understand this anymore. Are we out here to do us injustice and in service as to the rest of the people? And we have other people here. I mean, the same thing about it. How do we look at this? How do we read this? And we have a lawyer sitting over there, Richard. I mean, the same. I shouldn't have to ask him how he understands this. Anymore, as I said before, too, I belong to a commission, and I really enjoy it. But it's coming up here, too. How do I go ahead and the person come up in front of me, I make a decision, and what I like about it is it can't be that you can overrule it. The commission, I mean, you, as appointed or as voted, the commission should be able to see what's going on. What good is the commission when you override it? I mean, honestly, as I said before, too, you people, excuse me for saying this, you were the one who's seen, and the mayor especially. I think, I guess we're starting to either get along or we're starting to really understand each other, the same thing about it. She is the person that keeps us all under control to a certain extent. And you being commissioners, and the same thing about it, it seems to me that our harmony is getting worse instead of better. We're just not seeing anything in agreement anymore.
You have 30 seconds.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As I said, the commission itself, you were put there because I thought it was of due respect. It just seems to me anymore, as I say, day by day, we just fight more and more in the city. As I said before, we're going to, somewhere along this together, let's please get some of this together. Thank you.
Please state your name.
My name is Miss Tonya Gladney, a candidate that's running for office come November the 5th. I have some issues here. I have some concerns here. The first thing I said, being sarcastic, was we're turning the city of Eastpointe to a big old orgy. That's what it appears to be. We are not the city of Detroit. If this is a family town, let it stay a family town. When I first moved out here 11 years ago, coming from the city of Detroit, I said, boy, this is a ghost town. Because I wasn't used to it, but I appreciated it. The reason why, 9, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, there was no gas stations open 24 hours selling liquor, like the casino, like the party stores. There was no gas station stand open 24 hours. We got gas stations selling more liquor than the liquor stores. And you wonder why crime went up, and you wonder why people standing on a corner and begging for money. We are not the city of Detroit. We are 5 minutes from Detroit in any other major city. You want marijuana? Shoot there. You want to buy dope? Shoot there. This is a family town. Let's keep it a family town. It's some things you're going to have to go back to the basics. And we're far away from the basics. One other thing I have to say, I asked a question last meeting about the 60,000. I don't know if I missed it because there's been so much going on in this meeting tonight about raising for the courts. And I don't know if you guys approved that, but I pray that you did not. When it's the last time city councils had an increase in anything? We're kind of all over the place right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. In the back, please.
Madam Mayor, Council, Ron LaForest, resident of Eastpointe, former councilman of the city of Eastpointe. I would just like to say thank you, councilmen and women, for passing the resolution for LGBT. I am here to say that I am part of the LGBT community, and there is nothing wrong with just celebrating or recognizing, much like we celebrate and recognize everything else. Every February, we celebrate Black History Month, and we recognize the atrocities that took place. Well, I'm here to tell you as an LGBT person that atrocities do take place in our community as well. And we are just looking for support and representation. We are not looking to have a gay parade in the city. We are just looking for people to recognize us, that we are here and we are people too. Why I do applaud council for what they have passed, I do respect Miss Councilwoman Monique Owens for her stance. I totally understand. She brought up what her opinion was, and I'd like to commend Mayor Pixley for everything that she has done for the LGBT community and working during the epidemic of the AIDS crisis back in the 80s. I was also part of that time, and I just want to thank you, Mayor, for doing your share. But I'm here to tell you that just as everybody wants to be recognized, we're not asking for anything special. We're just asking to allow us to celebrate, to be recognized. I mean, the LGBT community is still fighting for our rights to this day. We are subjected to discrimination on fair housing and employment. So I just want people to be aware that I get that Monique Owens and Mayor Pixley loves everybody. We all want to love everybody, but the reality is not everybody is like us. There's a lot of mean people out there, and we're just looking to garner support. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ron. In the back, Mr. DeHunt.
You know, I was always taught John DeHunt, by the way, I was always taught that when you make a presentation before a customer, you want to start with positives, and then you want to dive into, if there's any pain or problems in your business. So I'm going to start with a positive. I have to give great credit to the chief. Last week, he and I called. Actually, I left a message on his machine. I think it was maybe 7:45 in the morning. And he called me at 8 o'clock. And he and a bunch of his guys were going to clean the front of the police department because he couldn't let the guys at the firehouse have the only clean municipal building. So I have to give him great credit for that. So I knew which way this was going to go today, and partially I was thinking maybe I needed to take some blood pressure medication before I started this night, because I expected my head to explode, and then I was thinking in my mind as I roll it through, they're going to override you and make you look like a fool. And it's exactly what happened. So then I'm thinking, well, should I just stand up and say, I quit? No, because then that gives in to what just transpired. I appreciate Mr. Creech's point. We never said no. We never said no to any of it. We just wanted to take our time. The only information we were given in any of our meetings was biased information on people that have been paying
rents, buying buildings, taking options on land. That is the only people that we heard from. People that had a vested interest. I give great credit to Councilperson Kleinfeld for saying that he would like to have somebody who is unbiased. That's all we want. That's all we've ever wanted. I can't speak for Commissioner Lubeck, but I think I can in this regard. We want unbiased opinion. And I would also, to Commissioner Lubeck's point, I don't ever remember us discussing this back in 2017 in December. It seems to me we were going through the long process of the master plan more than anything else. And if it was brought up in a very minor way with no credence given to it in 2017. So with that, we will do what we got to do. We will take our lumps. And quite frankly, I'm exhausted. I'm probably going to go home, so don't take it personally that I'm walking out on you when you make your comments. So we will do what we got to do, but just recognize we've never said no. We wanted unbiased information, and we don't like being steamrolled and made look stupid. Thank you.
Pastor Rush.
I sat here for 4 hours. I got a son I got to get back to. But one of the things that concerns me is that we, as a few pastors at Eastpointe, spoke supportively of people, caring for people, and our biggest concern was making sure that we have days for autism. Unfortunately, you mentioned about there is a day for Africa. There is no celebration of African American history in Eastpointe or East Detroit. The cultural department did do some things, but it was not an official resolution done by the city, as well as this city, East Detroit, had some very, very terrible things that happened with African Americans growing up through the past. But my biggest concern is that I felt some people that spoke after us misrepresented our views and what we feel. We're not about any hatred or anything against anyone, and very supportive of everybody feeling welcome and taken care of. And I just want to make sure we get the record straight that we did not speak against any particular people. We just wanted to make sure that we're doing diversity in all areas. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to be heard?
Michael Downey, I'm a 48-year resident of Eastpointe. I guess I'm sort of surprised that I wasn't asked whether or not I was from Eastpointe. Nobody mentioned if they were from Eastpointe just now. I guess that's only for the LGBT rabble rousers. I wanted to apologize, or I wanted to say thank you for the members who were strong enough to vote in the affirmative for the resolution. And I would just like to say, April, I won't renege on, showing that I love you and for the person you are. I won't recuse myself from telling people what kind of person you are. That, no matter what, I don't care. I guess in the end, the way I feel is I try to raise my kids with a positive role model, teaching them what they should do. A lot of times it's hard to stand up for what's right. I wish more people would. And, in the end, I think we could use a little more love. The Beatles said, all you need is love. I'm a firm believer in that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Margaret Pashadlik, longtime resident again. I'm a lifer. As many of you know, I spoke earlier on the two hot button topics for tonight. I know this was a very long meeting, and I thank you all for your service. Mayor Pixley, I found it abhorrent that you called us out when we were walking out. There was a group of people that were walking out. This place was packed. There were people standing outside the doors there for 2 hours. So you have to understand that sometimes it's a long time to stand at a meeting, especially after an all day of work and everything like that. So it's very difficult. I would like you to focus Mayor Pixley, I would like you to focus. There's a couple things that I would like to mention. There's an old acronym, and it's called THINK. You use the letters THINK. Is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? And lastly, is it kind? I think what you guys all did today was that. You followed that rule, and it is one of those golden rules we'd all like to live by. I hope that you guys all do the same. Usually, during such a long meeting, I was on the school board for years. When we had hot topics, we would break in between just so that, people could have a chance to regroup, or that after the hearing of a public, they would be able to leave without disruption. So I would make that suggestion to you guys, just so that in the future, if you have a heavy agenda like you did today and a packed room, that maybe you would adhere to something like that as a policy, because I found it, again, abhorrent that, the mayor called people out for leaving and, mentioning Council Member Kleinfeld's mother for not being here either. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to be heard?
So I'll read this onto the record again. It's section 2.97, the preamble for Eastpointe. Public office and employment are public trust, and each public official and employee must endeavor to earn and honor the public trust in the performance of all official duties and actions. Public officials and employees are chargeable with honesty, integrity, and openness in their handling of public affairs. When conduct inconsistent with these expectations occurs, public suspicion is heightened and public confidence is jeopardized. The city hereby declares all city officials and employees, elected or appointed, paid or unpaid, hence volunteers, must avoid any and all conflicts between their private interests and the public interests. The purpose of this division is to define standards of ethical conduct that are clearly established and uniformly applied. These standards will provide the public as well as public officials and employees with guidance about ethical expectations for trustees of the public. In other words, when the so-called volunteers of the Planning Commission that I was unaware they're Rhodes Scholars of the Constitution show up wearing racist t-shirts and conducting Planning Commission business during public comment at a city council meeting, that is absolutely appalling, and there's no excuse for it. Do we want to be a city that embraces all, welcomes all? Or do we want to be a city of racists and xenophobes? And if you want to be like Ferndale, you got a lot of house cleaning to do to ever get to that level of progressive thinking and action. And for those who want to build a wall, what's next? You want to build a wall and keep everybody from Detroit out of Eastpointe? And let's remember this, the white man stole this land from the Native Americans. So if anyone has a right to tell people to get out of this country, it's the Native Americans.
You have 30 seconds.
There is no excuse for this. This is about embracing people. And I'm glad that you passed the Pride resolution. My sister is a lesbian. That taught me as a teenager, show compassion, show respect, because I remember in the 80s, it was so sickening and so disgusting that people were, especially gay men, were being beat to death because of this homophobic rage, which is unconscionable. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to be heard? All right, well, that second hearing in the public is closed. Move on to mayor and council reports. Let's start with Mr. DeMonico.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you all for sticking around. Thank you for everyone that came out that's not here any longer or watching on television or anything like that. First thing I would like to say is from last meeting, I think Mr. Creech, I'll have to apologize, maybe I didn't explain well enough. He had brought up long grass of someone in Eastpointe and was talking about them and just mentioned, wondering if they were a renter or homeowner, and pointing out that the grass was long. I think it's important, and I'm glad that he came and talked about the long grass. I just thought it was irrelevant to talk about if they are a renter or a homeowner. But the long grass, I'm glad that that's brought up. People, if your neighbor's got long grass, call the city. We need to take care of that. So that was all. And then I have to respond to two of our planning commission members who called me a liar about talking about medical marijuana facilities, saying it was maybe some secret discussion. December 5th, 2017, right in this room right here, we had a discussion on medical marijuana facilities. We had a presentation. The gentleman was actually here earlier that gave the presentation, Chris Aiello. He's a Macomb County attorney, and Jen Zielinski from Damascus Consulting was here, and they discussed the Medical Marijuana Facilities Licensing Act. So first meeting, December 2017. That occurred right here in public. We have been discussing this issue since 2017. Next, let's see. I'm excited that everyone came out and spoke so passionately about the Pride Month resolution. Thank you for all the positive comments that were given, and just thank you for coming out and taking part in the city. I look forward to February on introducing a resolution for Black History Month. I will definitely be doing that. As was said, there has to be a first, right? Could have been if we would have thought about it in February. Honestly, just didn't think about it. I don't think there's anyone that is against a Black History Month resolution on the city council, but I'm just speaking for myself here. And everyone is so passionate about the Pride Month resolution. I definitely cannot meet that passion, and thank you for sharing all your stories, everybody in the audience. And then the Gratiot cruise was very good. Somehow all the pastors here did push all the rain to Grosse Pointe. If you weren't at the opening ceremony, they all prayed for the rain to go to Grosse Pointe. I've yet to confirm if it did go to Grosse Pointe, but it definitely wasn't in Eastpointe, so thank you. It was a very successful day. The cruise committee did a fantastic job like usual. It was nice to see the Arts and Cultural Diversity Commission do paint a car in the middle. I hope you all were able to paint it, and if you didn't know, it was a police car also, so it was really fun to paint that. If Director Rohib's listening. And next, ranked choice voting. I know Mr. Albright here brought that up. We will definitely be doing a voter education campaign starting now, starting last meeting. It'll be official, hopefully, next Wednesday, and then we can start an official campaign. But essentially, you're just voting like you did before. We'll be voting in November, and instead of just picking one candidate, you can rank them if you'd like. Still can pick one, but we'll put all these details out there. You just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If there's 5 candidates, and then we can discuss how those are counted. Still one person, one vote, and it helps the minority community elect a candidate of their choice, which was the whole point of the lawsuit. And next Music in the Plaza is June 26th. Bob and Carl, they do summer music and classic rock. It'll be back here right on the stage here. And as was mentioned, the neighborhood watch meeting, 6:30 at Eastpointe High School. Thank you, Director Rohib, Deputy Chief Nick Sage, and Deputy Chief Kaiser for putting that together. And thank you all for coming out to that. And just want to say, happy birthday to Dan Zander. His birthday is tomorrow. Everyone knows Dan Zander. Say happy birthday to him next time you see him. And I think that was all, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kleinfeld.
Thank you. First, I want to start with Peggy's not here anymore, but I just want to say thank you to her. It was really great. She came out today, and everything she's done for the community. Thank you to everyone on the cruise committee for all the work that they did, not only this year, but every year. It takes a lot of work for that to be a success. I'd like to, at least briefly tonight, because I know there's one more meeting. I'm not going to be here for the next meeting, but I do want to thank Joseph for everything he's done for the city. He's got a great attention to detail and definitely is a workhorse. And I know whatever you choose to do next, you're going to do really great. I want to give my compliments to the animal control officer, Officer Pyler. About 2 weeks ago, I was gardening in the median of Gratiot, and sadly, a dog was crossing the road and a car struck the rear side of the dog. It was Saturday morning. Officer Pyler was not on duty. I called dispatch. They arrived. I called 911. Dispatch sent officers quite quickly. The officers were very helpful, but we didn't know how to help this dog. Like I said, it was about 7:30, and Officer Pyler was there within 10 minutes. They called the cell just to ask, what do we do? And he said, hold on, I'll be there. He did a great job. He got the animal to a hospital to be treated. Unfortunately, she had some broken bones and internal bleeding, so she did have to be put down. But his quick response certainly helped ease that dog's pain and get her the care that she needed as quickly as possible. And not everyone goes above and beyond to that level, so I wanted to recognize him. And thank you to everyone who came out and spoke tonight. There were a number of people who told some personal stories. Not to call you out, April, I think you're the only one left. I just want to thank you for being brave enough to share what you had to say. I do want to point out that everyone who spoke all agreed that we all want to be kind to each other, respectful to each other. Everyone deserves to be safe, which was really the heart of the resolution. And I think on that point, we all just came together, even if we had opposing views on whether or not it should be passed. I do disagree with some of the comments made tonight about other resolutions just recently. I think we should be passing them, and I look forward to doing that. I think, honestly, Mr. DeMonica, you mentioned it. I thought we had passed a resolution, and I had to go back and check on that because we have all those events and stuff. But I look forward to doing that because there's no limit to putting that message out there that everyone deserves to be respected, safe, supported. It's not a competition. There's no finite amount of that. We have it in spades here. And so I look forward to building on that. Thank you.
Ms. Lucido.
First, I would like to thank the Cruise Commission, or the Cruise Committee, for putting on another great cruise this year. Myself and my kids all had a great time. And like Cardi said, thank to the pastors for keeping the rain away because they definitely made it a much more enjoyable event. Secondly, I would like to touch on really quick, I just want to apologize to the Planning Commission. If you did feel disrespected, I never meant any disrespect to you guys. I respect all of you. I respect the whole Planning Commission, and I respect all of your opinions, even if they're not always the same as mine. And then, real quick, I would like to thank everyone that came out tonight. We had a really great turnout. I wish we could have a turnout like this for every meeting. I do appreciate everyone's opinion. There was a lot of different topics. To the homeowners with the rezoning, I do understand their concerns. But I do think that rezoning that is in the best interest of the city, and that's why I had to move forward with that request. With the pastors that came out to spoke about the resolution, I do appreciate your opinion. I would be happy also to pass resolutions for other things. I think this is a stepping stone in that direction, because I think there's a lot of things that need to be recognized. A lot of things that people don't even realize that need to be recognized in everyday life, that we should maybe point out, like different things. Whether it be, you know, like he mentioned about the seniors being abused, anything like that. I think all of those things need to be pointed out, because there's so many things that people aren't even aware of that is happening behind the scenes. So, with that said, I hope everyone has a good couple of weeks, and I will see you in July.
Ms. Owens. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to, again, thank everybody for coming out. I want to thank everybody from coming out and giving their opinions. And I don't know the young lady's name with the blonde hair. You call yourself the gangster of Congress?
That's my title on the air. I'm a TV host. I get paid for the title.
Okay, well, this is for you. I don't thank you for the comment, but to have a straight day, to say have a straight day, I don't agree with that. That brings among a lot of more separation. And that's why when I got on council, my main goal was not to say, let's do a resolution for Black History Month. I feel like if that was gonna happen, I don't feel like a Black person has to do it. If it's just as important to council before I got elected, it should be important before or after I got elected. Especially us going, being known as a racist city in the past, that should have been something done a long time ago. So I know what you're saying as far as making a resolution. I don't want to make a resolution for something just because we made a resolution for something else. I think that we should do stuff according to just being fair across the border. I don't think we should have a piece of paper that tells you how to treat somebody. It's unfortunate that we have to do that in 2019. Mr. Creech, you mentioned one of the commissioners that is not on the board that we voted on. Actually, Mr. Johnson was somebody I actually recommended myself, and he has not been really going to those meetings. And so if someone does not show up and support what they, you know, asked to do and was recommended by council, then we have to find somebody else to step up and show up, just like you do. We need more people like you, that's what I'm saying. And he wasn't stepping up. He has a business all the way in Farmington Hills, and I do thank him for wanting to do it, but sometimes we just get overwhelmed with a lot of things, and we can't do everything we want to do. And so also, Mr. LaFlores, thank you for coming out and being positive. I remember when I first ran for council, he was the only one who voted to get me on this council seat. And so for him to know my heart and know that I stand fair to everything and everybody lets me know that I'm doing the right thing going forward. And actually last week when I seen you at the Dream Cruise, that was the first time I actually found out you was part of the LGBT community, because I didn't try to figure that out. I just liked you for who you are. So, and I've been knowing you for about 5 years now, and I didn't know that, you know, which obviously lets you know I don't care. I love you for who you are, and obviously you standing up speaking on my behalf lets me know you feel the same way about me. Also, the Gratiot Cruise was awesome. If people were there, you guys see me dressed the part in my 50s outfit. I always loved the cruises. I always loved being a part of the community. My kids had a good time, and I thank the pastors for always coming out and supporting, and the cars were nice. The people who drive the cars, they take time out to do that for us. They don't get paid anything, and I appreciate that. Also, Mr. Joseph Sabata, I want to say thank you for all the work you've done in a short amount of time. You know, you did a lot of work, and a lot of people see what you've done, and I want to be one of those people to acknowledge that I've seen it. Good job going forward, and if you need another job coming back, you got my vote on that, just to let you know that. And so, that being said, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Not now. Not now. I'm sorry. Mr. Sabota,
Excuse me, I saw something. It's okay.
You wanted to say something?
No, I didn't. I thought I saw something and my eyes were playing tricks on me. Looked like a bug.
It's been a very long day.
Okay.
Four of us, right? I can't even count right now. Four of us were at an 8:30 meeting this morning for the Chamber of Commerce. It was an annual meeting, and they had asked each of 3 city managers to come and speak. So the 3 city managers were the one from Fraser, from Roseville, and from Eastpointe. And they were each given a target of 5 minutes to speak. Mr. Sabota was the only one that followed directions. All the rest of them were talking for 25 minutes at a time. And the person that had to wait the longest to speak was Congressman Levin, who was there to speak. So by the time Congressman Levin was there, 2.5 hours had gone by, and then there was the president of the chamber. But Mr. Sabota was right on time and right on target. And I think both Sarah and Monique would agree with me that you did a fine job and you represented Eastpointe very well. And I think that's what you've done for our city in a very short time that you've been here. So we want to congratulate you for a job well done, and I look forward to giving you that recommendation. So, Gratiot Cruise was a heck of a lot of work, but I think it all came together. People say, well, you didn't have as many cars in the cruise lane. Well, no, you don't. That we had a pastor that sent the rain some other place, but if there's a threat of rain, the convertibles are not going to come out. They're not going to go in the cruise lane. But 2 of the car shows set records with a number of people. The Friday car show had 250 cars. They actually lined up on Cousins, which is the first time that's ever happened. And the one at Cloverleaf was also really big. But, you know, what can you do with rain? So next time we're going to get all those pastors out there to pray and send that rain away. One time we had a pastor from St. Basil's, and it was his custom to put the rosary in the tree by the rectory, and it would not rain. Well, when he put the rosary in the tree, it rained like crazy. So during the ceremony, we told him to go back to St. Basil's, take that rosary out, and it stopped right away. So you never know. You never know. Ms. Posadlik, I'm sorry that you were upset when I mentioned for those people to please stay, but they were disturbing what was happening in the rest of the room, and so that was the reason why I asked. And many of those people were sitting down, so it wasn't like I was throwing them out to the wolves. It was just the fact that I thought they were disturbing the attention of the other people that were remaining in the council chambers. And I believe that's probably the first time that I've ever done that. And it wasn't because they were the LGBT people or anything else. It was just because they were disturbing the room. I don't have anything else to add. I thank Monique for standing on your own and expressing your opinions on the subjects. I thought your words were very well taken, and I appreciate those. My words come from a lot of experience working with LGBT populations. And sometimes when you do a proclamation, it goes in the reverse direction. And I hope this one doesn't, but I've seen it happen that way in several of the cities where I worked as a travel nurse. People are shaking your heads at me. You haven't worked in all the places I have, so you haven't seen the reaction. And it could be that it was so long ago, because I was a nurse for 42 years, and that was 14 years before I took on this job. But I'm telling you, I saw some horrible, horrible attacks in Houston right after they decided to do a Pride Month. And I never want to see that in the city of Eastpointe. So I think that's why I'm so adamant about the proclamations. So that's my personal opinion. It's based on my personal experience. I don't want to see it happen in Eastpointe. And I guess that's it. So I'll entertain a motion for adjournment because I'm going to be at a SEMCOG meeting at 8:30 tomorrow.
So moved.
Support. Please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico.
Yes.
Owens.
Yes.
Pixley.
Yes.
Lucido.
Yes.
And Kleinfeld.
Yes.
It's 14.